around some of the rogue officers within the AMPD. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
The city of Joburg has paid nearly 1 million rand to a subcontractor for the construction of a wall that was never built. EWN has obtained internal documents in which the city's former MMC for Human Settlements, Anthea Leach, raised concerns about the apparent defrauding of the municipality. In the letter, Leach alleges the Johannesburg Property Company's acting CEO, Themba Matibe, approved the payments to build the wall at an old age home 3 years ago. At the time, Matibe was serving as Chief Operating Officer and allegedly instructed the contractor not to proceed with the building wall despite having been paid. Alfara Mushwana reports.
Former Human Settlements MMC Anthea Leach revealed in a letter to the Johannesburg Social Housing Company that the subcontractor submitted fraudulent photos of a wall built elsewhere, claiming it was constructed at the intended site. This triggered a wide-ranging forensic investigation into the irregularities surrounding the 1 million rand paid to build the wall. Leach also suggested the entity's former COO Themba Matibe interfered by trying to recover the money from the contractor without legal advice, which is said to have been an interference with an active investigation. Although the entity's board approved and noted a proposal for Matibe's suspension, he was never suspended and was instead promoted to acting CEO. Meanwhile, the entity says its internal investigation found no prima facie evidence that Matibe was involved in the plot to defraud the city. Matibe was also recently arrested after he was found with a substantial amount of cash at his home. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
Convicted murderer and rapist Thabo Bester's lawyers say while they are disappointed with their latest legal blow, they remain desperate to have him transferred from the eBongweni prison. Bester's bid was struck off the urgent court roll yesterday. Judge Mamuloko Kubushi was critical of the stringent timeframes that Bester's lawyers gave correctional services to reply to this case. But Bester's lawyers insist the extreme urgency was necessary because they are unable to consult with him for his main prison break case while he's at the country's only super maximum security prison. His lawyer, Inolofatseng Morero, insists they will be approaching the court with the same bid soon.
We need to be able to consult with the client. We need to be able to know what is our instruction moving forward. And as you know, the 18th is our last case management hearing as we stand now, and the matter has been set down tentatively for July. So we need to be actively preparing.
And the head of Instagram has been called to testify in an LA courtroom by lawyers out to prove that social media is dangerously addictive by design to young, vulnerable minds. YouTube and Meta, the parent company of Instagram and Facebook, are defendants in a blockbuster trial that could set a legal precedent regarding whether social media giants deliberately designed their platforms to be addictive to children. Rival lawyers made opening remarks to jurors this week, with an attorney for YouTube insisting that the Google-owned video platform was neither intentionally addictive nor technically social media. The civil trial in California State Court centers on allegations that a 20-year-old woman identified as Kaylee GM suffered severe mental health and harm after becoming addicted to social media as a child. She started using YouTube at 6 and joined Instagram at 11 before moving on to Snapchat and TikTok 2 or 3 years later. Gold is trading at $5,048.57 an ounce. The rand is at 15.89 to the dollar, 21.72 to the pound, 18.93 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $69.24 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we still have got delays on the M1 South. This is between the Baklu Interchange and Corlett Drive. We also have got queuing traffic on the M1 North coming out of Boyson's Road towards the Crown turn-off. An accident is reported there. Please be on the lookout.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 29 and 31 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. A new witness is expected to take the stand at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry today as it continues to zoom in on crime and corruption, especially within the Ekurhuleni municipality.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. Calling all the brightest minds in Gauteng. Time to flex your general knowledge smarts in the brain of 702. Enter now on primemediaplus.com. T's and C's apply.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Minutes after 9 o'clock. Sanbonani, bonjour, good morning, dumelang, goeiemorgen. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela show. Thank you for being with us here on 702. I hope you're going to have a wonderful, wonderful day today. So, we start with the 702 open line, as always, on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. What did you think of the testimony of Paul O'Sullivan yesterday? It started dramatically and ended dramatically. It started dramatically because he had no-go areas. He didn't want to be asked questions beyond 1990. It ended on a dramatic note because he threatened to withdraw last night from this ad hoc committee because he said, I'm not here to be interrogated, I'm here to also defend myself. So he was trying to argue to be given more time to just put his side of the story up and substantiate the allegations that he has made, that the people who have made allegations against him are the ones that are corrupt. I'd like to hear your thoughts from that. But yeah, yesterday he was under the spotlight in Parliament. Members of Parliament grilled him a bit on his background. They've barely scratched the surface, so we're still yet to deal with like the substance of why he is testifying at the ad hoc committee. Remember, there are allegations that were made against him by a number of people. Komotso Pahlani, the chief of staff for Senzo Mkhunu, Cedric Nkabinde, even the KZN provincial commissioner, General Ntantlam Konazi, who, by the way, did tell the committee that you guys must check if this guy is not even an agent. You would be surprised. Which is why yesterday members of Parliament went at length to try and understand where has he been? How did he come into this country? What is his background? And I'm glad that they did, because we've got a better picture of what we're dealing with here. So he was questioned about the senior roles that he's held at state entities, including Airports Company South Africa, and whether he was properly qualified to serve as an executive. I mean, he doesn't even have a degree or an equivalent of a degree, and yet he was serving as an executive, I think for security or head of security, if I'm not mistaken. I'll confirm that for you. But he was serving as that at AXA, a national key point. How? And I'm glad Julius Malema yesterday told the committee, let's go find that advert, that job ad. Because Julius said, we want to see, really, if there was a requirement for a degree or not. Because do you not need at least some security clearance? In fact, the reason he stepped down from that position is because Jackie Silebi or somebody else had required that he undergo security clearance. And he himself yesterday said, I wasn't going to pass that clearance because I have worked for the British government. I've worked in counterintelligence. So that was not going to fly. So he ended up stepping down from that position. But his arrival in South Africa during the 1970s at the height of apartheid also came under scrutiny. Julius Malema asked him, why would he choose to travel to a country that is in deep political turmoil at the time? This is what Julius said during that interaction.
And then the only thing you're telling us is weather. You call the bodies of our people on the floor weather. Because that was what was happening at the time. People were being killed. And you wanted to come and join that kind of lifestyle of killing people. Are you not aware that people were being killed at that time when you were applying to become a citizen in South Africa?
Chairman, I only applied to become a citizen in South Africa in 1994. And I became a citizen in 1995. So it's a reality that I had not applied to become a citizen. And it's also a reality that I have not stated that I did not know what was going on in the country at the time. I knew what was going on, but I didn't know the level of detail that I later found out. Because as you spend more time in a country, you find out more. So, that's my evidence.
But in the letter you wrote, Mr. O'Sullivan, you spoke about the 80s and that you were just 20 and you had no idea, and we can still say maybe you were naive at that time. It can be correct that you're talking about 95. There was an interest in the 1980s. And you were interested in the weather in the 80s, and I'm saying to you, it can be correct. And worse, you didn't have to stay in South Africa to know what was happening in South Africa. There was a big anti-apartheid movement in Britain, in London. Surely you knew the release Nelson Mandela campaign.
Yeah.
Very prominent
in
Britain.
It was, in fact, the biggest ever concert, if I'm not mistaken, of the Release Mandela campaign happened in England. And this is a man who claims to be a staunch anti-racist. But hey, he was visiting this racist apartheid country on holiday and then decided, I actually want to live here. I love how things are here. Quite interesting. Which leads me to this question. Are there specific countries that you do not travel to because of the political situation in that country? Because what he was basically being asked is, how could you feel comfortable to come on holiday to a country like South Africa, or ultimately decide that actually I want to set up home here? And I wonder if you actually make those considerations. How do you decide where to visit? Do you consider the political situation in that country? I wonder. Give us a call on 011-883-0702, please. I'm interested in your thoughts. I know when I spoke to Bongani Bingwa a week ago, he told me he's got a trip coming up to Guatemala. And he has chosen that he's not going to go via the U.S., right? Because he's unhappy about things that are happening there. So that's a decision he's making, that I would rather go via another route to Guatemala other than via the U.S. So there are people who are making calls like that. There are people who are choosing, they're not even going to go to the World Cup. There are people who are choosing, I'll never go to Saudi Arabia because I don't like the situation there and the kind of laws they have that perhaps to you feels like it's a persecution. Maybe you would argue on women or whatever the case might be, or you don't like what happened to Jamal Khashoggi, right? And the involvement, allegedly, of the Saudi prince. Or maybe Iran. You don't like what's happening in Iran, the political situation on the ground. Or maybe it's Israel. Maybe you don't like Israel and what they've done in Gaza and the war in the Middle East. And you've chosen, I'm never going to visit Israel for whatever reason. I'm never going to visit Palestine. Do you consider the political situation on the ground before you either decide to stay, relocate in that country? But more prominently, I'm interested, especially when you go to visit or you're going on holiday, is that a big consideration for you? Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. But yeah, what a talented man. What has Paul O'Sullivan not done? Hey? He was in the military. He worked in counterintelligence. He was trained as an electrical engineer. He worked in the security services. He was a forensic investigator, he got into property development. He trained the future president of this country, Cyril Ramaphosa, as a police reservist, because that's what he became as soon as he came to South Africa. What has he not done? I'm interested to find this post from AXA that allowed him to hold this specific executive position, because he held oversight of aviation security at all 10 AXA managed airports in South Africa. How do you do that without security clearance? But also, how do you do that without like a significant qualification, like, for instance, an equivalence of a degree? So hopefully that's what comes up today as members of parliament question him. So share your thoughts with us about his testimony yesterday. At 10 o'clock, we are going to be in conversation with Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille. You know about the country recording over 10 million international arrivals between January and December last year, which is a 17% increase, and the highest number actually ever recorded. In fact, I saw President Cyril Ramaphosa in his newsletter describing this as a vote of confidence in South Africa's brand appeal. So the minister will take us through just her plan for the department and how are we planning on attracting even more people to come here on holiday. And then at 11 o'clock on our Listener's Choice feature, we're discussing what the law says about cohabitation. Do you stay with your partner and you are not married? Do you actually know what the law says about your cohabitation? Well, we'll tell you all you need to know at 11 o'clock and how you can protect your union if you're not married, but you're cohabiting with someone. At 11:30, we do the sharing space. Ooh, an interesting one today. So if your ex-spouse, your ex-husband or your ex-wife was getting married to their new partner, would you expect them to invite your children, the children you share with this ex-spouse? I'll tell you why I'm asking this question on our sharing space at 11:30. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Morning, Clement. I'm actually one of the people who was disappointed with how the ad hoc committee went about its duties with Paul O'Sullivan. I actually felt like there were a lot of delays based on things which are not related to what he was there for and what the ad hoc committee is trying to achieve. Most of the questions were just useless. There's one, they spent 45 minutes arguing his affidavit. There's one MKMP who was asking him about his political conscience when he decided to immigrate to South Africa. Like, those are issues which are not related to the matter at hand. I actually expect more robust engagement at Matlanga because they will greet you there. But with the MPs, I'm so disappointed. It's a bummer of fun.
Good morning, Clement, the 702 listeners and the producers. Clement, you know, this guy has been arrogant ever since he became who he is, whatever his name is, Sullivan. He was allowed to be arrogant. He was allowed to do whatever he wants. He was allowed to disrespect people. That is us. And this is continuing. So what do we expect? We've allowed this. He's going to be infinitely arrogant and disrespectful. But also now we need to be tough on him.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's just his personality. I mean, have you heard the interviews that he does? Normally he will speak over the journalist. You must go Google an interview that he did with Sakina Kwamendo, who is on Morning Live on SABC News. And in that interview, like, he's trying to bully Sakina, who's just basically asking basic questions that any journalist would ask. And maybe that is his personality. But I really don't have a problem with how the MPs went further down a number of years ago to understand who this man is. We don't know him. He's a forensic investigator, but what really brought him here? The fact that he's worked in counterintelligence is of interest to me. The fact that he has trained the future president of this country as a police reservist after he himself trained for just 3 months And then he qualified to train someone like Cyril Ramaphosa and many other young people at the time. That is of interest to me. The fact that he got a job at a national key point without security clearance and apparently to be an executive where you are managing all of these airports. You somehow didn't need a degree or an equivalence of that? Very suspicious to me. General General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi told the committee, you guys must ask the questions and figure out who this person is and whether he's not an agent. He did say yesterday, I am not an agent. I've never done any work looking into South Africa or even when I was here. But there are a number of things that have happened. In fact, you must go and read up about what happened between him and Jackie Silebi, because he wasn't just a corruption buster who figured out this corrupt relationship between Glenn Agliotti and Jackie Silebi. There's something that also happened when he was at AXA, where Jackie Silebi actually took decisions that led to him being required to do a security clearance. And he realized at the time he's not going to pass that clearance because of his past and where he has worked before in the past. This is someone who was in British intelligence, who worked for counter intelligence. That, I think that is important, unless you think that background is not important. This is the person who managed to have a lot of influence on some of our law enforcement agencies like IPID. I mean, the IPID head himself told us at the committee that this man used to give me quite valuable information, so we worked well together. So what was it? What was in it for him is what I'm trying to ask.
Clem, I don't know why they want to grill this Paul O'Sullivan. Has he not handed us Jackie Silebi and so many people on a platter? People who were beyond corruption, who stole from this country. He's very effective at what he wants to do. Maybe the committee members are afraid that they are going to be exposed. Have we not thought of that? We have such layers of corruption in this country, from the police to look at what happened at Tembisa Hospital. Even the administrators, the people who approved the payments, everyone, the buyers, it is so endemic. Then I don't blame this man for saying that his life is in danger. Quite frankly, this country is rotten to the core. Rotten.
Morning, Clement. How? Clement, this Paul O'Sullivan guy. No, man. Why is he not classified in the same group as our Brian Mokgotsi? Because clearly this guy, I don't think even if he can be investigated properly, ILO is going to come out, man. That's why he loves intimidating people and bullying them around, giving them threats. They must just check him. And I think he must also go to Madanga. Because there, he won't have any authority to threaten and do all this kind of nonsense. Short Lemon.
Yes, good morning, Clemza, Cosmas Rondebelt. Ramaphosa is older than Paul Sullivan. I wonder how Paul Sullivan taught Ramaphosa policing issues in the military or police issues. I wonder. Paul Sullivan must be investigated. Thank you.
William, you calling us from Eden Vale. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. If you don't mind, my comment is to South Africa. South Africa, let me remind you that Paul O'Sullivan was instrumental in putting Radovan Krejcir behind bars. South Africa is a better place because of Paul O'Sullivan. The other thing South Africa is, what you aren't aware of is, an Edenvale policeman was badly beaten in 2005. So badly beaten he was declared brain dead. I, as a private individual, tried to get to the bottom of who killed Sergeant Cobus Latsky. Paul O'Sullivan assisted me. He was approachable, friendly, and guided me in the posters that I put up around Edenvale, laminated posters at my expense. And Paul O'Sullivan guided me and said, William, if we get any information, he'll investigate that story. And so that's the kind of person I know Paul O'Sullivan to be. Friendly, approachable, and no nonsense.
Okay, William, I'm glad you had such a that kind of experience with him, and I don't take that away from you. Just know that that's not going to be the case with everybody else. There are people that he has threatened, for instance, who may not have that same approach to the relationship that they have shared. But I take it that from you, he was very helpful. I'm sure he's helped many other people. Didn't he fund? There was revealed like he funded some cases of a specific foundation. I don't remember if it was the Ahmad Kathrada Foundation, but I'll check that quickly for you. But speaking of Radovan Krejcir, where was it? Did I read that he apparently purchased the house of Radovan Krejcir? Paul O'Sullivan, as you say, who was instrumental in helping get Radovan Krejcir behind bars. And I know Radovan Krejcir. I reported about him when I was a young journalist. 8 years ago, I used to drive to court a lot during his trial. So I remember that case very well. The point is, he helped get Radovan Krejcir behind bars. And guess who bought Radovan Krejcir's Bedford View mansion for about 15 million rand in 2015? I don't know. I just think when you are involved in getting someone arrested, are you not conflicted a bit? Like maybe stay away from getting their property, because then questions are going to come around. What was your intention to getting this person behind bars beyond just caring about the rule of law? But also you are the first one to quickly go purchase the property of this person as soon as they're behind bars. I don't know what that means to you, but it sounds a bit weird to me. Godfrey, you are in Senton. What are your thoughts? Hi.
Clement, how are you?
Chop. Go ahead, brother.
My brother, I feel your sentiment. I would not be really comfortable to have someone like Paul O'Sullivan being given types of positions that he has occupied in our country. First of all, it is explicitly wrong for someone like Paul O'Sullivan to be appointed as head of security of AXA. AXA forms part of the national key points. So I don't understand at what capacity or what kind of credentials does any person need to be occupying that kind of a seat. Also, being a foreigner, I feel like our security cluster is reactive than being a proactive way of doing things. There is no way a person can be occupying that kind of a position. And the generals are only questioning now as to who he is. Point number one, who funds Paul O'Sullivan's softwares that he has that can be able to investigate any person at the level where he can? Paul O'Sullivan, he's a civilian. He has not been given a top clearance, a secret service, or any form of such in this country. So who gave him the right to investigate, especially the generals? It does not make sense. And it is dangerous for us to have a foreigner to have that kind of power in this country. When he bought the house for 15 million rand of Radovan Krejcir, where did he get the money? Who gave him that money?
Godfrey, these questions are really important. They're really important. Thank you for your call in, Senton. I see, in fact, it wasn't the Ahmad Kathrada Foundation. It's the Helen Suzman Foundation. And in fact, just to give you some context there, the Helen Suzman Foundation dismissed Paul O'Sullivan's claim that he funded its legal efforts for former IPID head Robert McBride. Remember, this is a claim that Paul O'Sullivan made, that he financially backed the Helen Suzman Foundation's legal efforts to support the former IPID head Robert McBride, which isn't far-fetched if you think about it, because they were good buddies with Robert McBride. But the Helen Suzman Foundation has since said no, he didn't really fund that legal effort. But what they confirmed is that O'Sullivan did give them 100,000 rand donation in 2019. But they said that it was general and not linked to any case. Clearly, this man thinks that maybe that 100,000 was actually the one that's linked to the case and was supposed to help the foundation in its efforts to fight that case in support of Robert McBride. More of your calls and WhatsApps after the latest and Eyewitness News headlines. And I do want to know if there are specific countries you would never visit because of the political situation. I'm getting some voice notes and tweets and WhatsApps. People are mentioning Dubai. Some people are mentioning Israel. Some people are mentioning the United States of America. What is the one country that, or maybe you have actually visited a country where there is just political turmoil, the political situation is quite tumultuous, and you had a good experience, or maybe not a good experience? Please, I'd like to hear your experiences. Sviso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan is expected to return to Parliament's ad hoc committee this morning, where he will face questions about allegations levelled against him by previous witnesses such as KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and Minister Senzo Mchunu Chief of Staff Cedric Nkabinde. He told the members yesterday that he's not willing to be interrogated over allegations he says have been made against him by criminals, and he won't be part of a kangaroo court. Build One South Africa leader Mmusi Maimane says the next leader of his former political home, the DA, should embrace a more inclusive vision for the country. Maimane says while he has no particular interest in who takes over from John Steenhuisen, he's standing by his version of events that he was told by the party's executives to resign as leader in 2019. This amid repeated claims by Steenhuisen that Maimane walked off the job and left him to pick up the pieces. And under pressure, Dutch brewer Heineken says it will scrap up to 6,000 jobs as it faces what it describes as challenging market conditions. The company says it will be accelerating productivity at scale to unlock significant savings, reducing 5,000 to 6,000 roles over the next 2 years. And those are the headlines this EWN, and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
In Tembisa, we've got queuing traffic on the R21 North. This is as you approach Olifantsfontein Road. That's due to roadworks along the route. Please be on the lookout there, or use the N1 North through Midrand towards the city of Tshwane. Speaking of Midrand, we've got an accident reported on the N1 South right near Allendale Road. It's causing delays. There's also queuing traffic in four ways towards Paulshof along the N1 North between Winnie Mandela Drive and Rivonia Road. While heading towards Melrose, do expect delays on the M1 South, a stop-and-go situation there. This is between the Marlborough Drive exit and Corlett Drive. And then if you are traveling on the Main Reef Road in the Amalgam area, do expect delays approaching the M2 exit. More traffic updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Morning, Africa. This sort of things is like a Grammy Award of corruption. The only thing they're going to show us is how much they achieve in corruption. You'll see them all wearing nice, beautiful clothes while people are suffering. So I think this Sona should be changed into a Grammy Award of corruption.
Thank you very much indeed for that voice note.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Water infrastructure vandalism has tragic and dangerous consequences. The theft of manhole covers can result in fatalities, especially among children. Each damaged pipe, illegal hookup, or vandalized pump jeopardizes access to clean water, disrupts service, and threatens public safety. Report suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg at 0800 002 587. Help combat water infrastructure vandalism. Your alertness can prevent disasters. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water.
What better way to get the jol started in 2026 than in the new Haval Jolian Pro? Turn heads with next-level design, plus tech features like a 12.3-inch infotainment touchscreen and a panoramic sunroof. Available from only 4,799 Rand per month. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM. Go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
The Dis-Chem Better Rewards program is here, and every time you shop and save, you're also giving back. Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is donated to the Dis-Chem Foundation to support communities in need. So why wait? Sign up to become a Better Rewards member today and support with every swipe. Dis-Chem Foundation. caring for the community. Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
24 minutes before 10 o'clock. Nhlanhla, I'll start with your call in a minute. Let's go to more of your WhatsApp voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Good morning, Clement. Clement, I do consider the countries that I visit. For example, I can't visit Israel. No matter how someone can sell it to me, I will never, ever visit Israel. And I'm even, having problem when I talk to some Christian community, being a Christian, that I don't understand. Are they naive enough to understand that country of Israel there was formed in 1948, and this perpetuate going to Israel and believing that is the one in the Bible, and it's very surprising to me. So I can't visit Israel, and then I'm surprised this guy was visiting South Africa under the apartheid government. It means that he has validated apartheid, and he actually liked what was happening in South Africa. Walter in Pretoria.
Good morning, Clement. I hope you're well. I would never see myself going to America. That place scares me to death. I can't imagine just walking innocently and someone decides today I'm going to play with a gun and shoots me. I mean, yeah, that for me is the scariest place in the world. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, that's really a real fear. And I mean, that's just political violence, right? Because you know what the numbers look like in America, especially if you're someone of color. And then there's also concerns about ICE. Like ICE agents they've been in Minnesota, but they're going to be, and some are in other states. So I know of friends who live in America who are South African, who are actually concerned, One of them is now, officially a citizen in America. Another one has recently just gone there about a couple of months ago to start work. They just don't know what's going to happen the next day when they wake up, because the president of the U.S. may just decide to take a decision that affects them. So, yeah, at least you're thinking about a holiday and not wanting to go there. Spare thought for some people whose livelihoods are dependent on them being there. They're there to work, and they just don't know if they'll ever have a job the next day, because Trump could decide anything, anytime.
Hi, Clement. Letabo here from Centurion. I definitely consider the political situation before I decide to spend my money in a country. There are certain countries that I know I will definitely not visit. Israel is one of them. Dubai is one of them. I can lay over in Dubai, but I will never go and visit because of what's happening. I'm never going to the US until Trump is out. So, yes, if I learn about political instability or a stance that a country has taken, then I use my free will to not visit until things change. I am not about to spend my hard-earned money on a country that infringes on the rights of others.
Yeah, and look, it's of course your choice on where you want to spend your money. But what I know for sure is that even during apartheid here, there are people who chose not to come to this country, especially those who really were not happy with the political situation on the ground, who were staunch anti-racists, which is what Paul O'Sullivan claims to be, right? I mean, that's a strong adjective to use, no? That's quite a strong word to use. Staunch anti-racist. I mean, staunch anti-racists, I'm sure we're taking different positions in the 80s or the 70s at the height of apartheid here. They didn't think, oh, I'm a staunch anti-racist, but let me go and spend my money on that country that is so racist against black people. On the WhatsApp line, Anonymous says, Clement, O'Sullivan bought that house, Rhoda van Kretcher, at next to nothing, as the case is with distressed sales of property. The house became virtually unsellable because of the clout it was under at the time. He has now put it on the market again as a form of distancing himself from the backlash it has brought him. If you spend your life impressing yourself as a self-designed corruption buster, optics do matter when we hold your integrity to the light, like when we check the money. I agree with that, which is why I'm saying I find it suspicious that you are going to be part of investigations against Clement, and as soon as Clement gets to jail, and thank you for your efforts for that, but as soon as Clement gets to jail, and guess who buys Clement's house? At, as this listener claims, next to nothing. 15 million rand mansion in Bedford View. Who buys it? The same person who helped investigators put me in jail? I mean, find another house. Optics do matter. You don't want people to think, oh, did he have other ulterior motives? Whether the person who's in jail was corrupt or not and deserves to be there. What are you doing? Semi, you're in Centurion. Hi.
Good morning, Clement. You know, so about this is a dishonest person. He claims he didn't know that there was apartheid in South Africa, that black people are being oppressed. But he was friends with the people within government, and one of the people who wrote the letter pleading for him to be granted immigration. Hello?
Yeah, we're listening.
They said that he will be of great use to the white community. And then he claimed that no, he himself wasn't holding this stance that he will be of great use to the white community. But if you are friends with people in government, Clement, how then are you going to say that you didn't know what was happening in that country? I mean, say like if you are friends with, say like Donald Trump, you will not claim to say no. I don't know what's happening in America. You will know because you are friends with people in government. So, the guy is just saying he came there. He went to that commission thinking that no.
Oh, did we just lose that call? Okay, it just dropped there. But I think we got the essence of it. You believe that he's lying. He must have known about what was happening in South Africa at the time. More of your WhatsApps.
Hi, this is Mo. Look, I listened to the interrogation yesterday. I think the first thing is we must not allow the politicians to think for us. Currently, the media narrative is picking up where the politicians in that room went with Paul O'Sullivan. And to be quite honest, I'm disappointed in how they handled themselves. They have actually put Paul O'Sullivan on trial. They have asked him all sorts of questions, and it sounded very much like they were trying to discredit him. Now, it's one thing to say, I don't like the guy for what he stands for, or for the fact that he didn't want to come to this committee, but I think they wasted 3/4 of the day trying to interrogate and discredit Paul O'Sullivan rather than allow him to lead evidence and help them with the inquiry. Thank you.
So, what I'm looking forward to is when Brown Mokhotsi appears. I wonder if you're going to have the same approach. Like, I wonder if you're going to criticize members of parliament and say they're treating him like it's a kangaroo court. So, let's be consistent and fair. I take your point. In fact, I interviewed the chair of that ad hoc committee last night on SABC, and I asked him, but have you guys actually afforded him the respect, right? I've asked him that because Paul O'Sullivan believes he's not being respected. He believes he's just being interrogated and not given a chance to really tell his side of the story. So I have asked that because it's a concern he's raised. But what I'm saying is, and if history is anything to go by, we are very selective with our expectations of how Madlanga or the ad hoc committee must do its work. So when Brown Mokhotsi appears, which is going to be soon, and he is being asked these questions also about his background and that may be antagonistic, I wonder if you will also send a voice note and say, I think he's being treated unfairly. The MPs are unfair. I wonder.
Morning, Clement. I feel like if you compare the quality of interrogation in Madlanga versus the ad hoc, you'd notice a very distinct distinction between the two. Malanga is more direct, thorough, incisive. Why? I think the parliamentarians, I don't know if they're grandstanding or trying to outshine one another. They often waste critical time on very flimsy issues that sidetrack them instead of, Dudley James just wants to waste time on issues that are not necessary. Malema, as much as his intervention is often welcomed, but I think the parliamentarians often just get easily sidetracked. I'll wait for O'Sullivan when he appears at Matlanga. I think there we can get more from him. Prince, in Bedford View.
Yeah, Prince, I'm not sure if, is he meant to be at the Madlanga Commission? I don't know if he's on the list of witnesses there. I doubt it, highly doubt it, because remember how he ended up being mentioned was at the ad hoc committee. And he was being mentioned by people who are appearing before the ad hoc committee. He wasn't implicated at the Madlanga Commission, if I've got that correctly. But yeah, Prince, the ad hoc committee is a political process. Of course, members of parliament are going to grandstand in that process, but that doesn't mean that then the work that they do is dismissed. It's still important work. In fact, we have had a conversation on the open line before about which of the two, Madlanga and the ad hoc committee, should be given more priority. And the argument at the time was that Madlanga, for instance, they've got capacity to investigate. So which is why, the witnesses are always crumbling there, because there's a strong legal team behind the evidence leaders at the Madlanga Commission. So by the time you are there, you better have your story checked. Whereas at the ad hoc committee, of course, members of parliament will grandstand, which is why you would see certain political party like remember Julius wasn't there when Shadrach appeared. Yesterday was the DA member of parliament Glenys Brettenbach there yesterday? I think she may have left earlier yesterday. But what I'm saying is there are certain political dynamics you pick up. Like pick up the tone of the DA or the tone of the ANC, the tone of the EFF when they question certain witnesses. All of that matters. But that's because it's a political process. So there's nothing we can do about it. It's always going to be about politics. They're always going to find an opportunity to grandstand. You and I must just pick up what we think is interesting and what we think somehow is more insightful in as far as the role of the people who appear there is concerned. Some more WhatsApps on 072 702 1702.
Morning, Clement. One thing we mustn't forget, and I'm not protecting or coming up for Paul O'Sullivan. Paul O'Sullivan was appointed by the police, declared competent to do the training. He didn't appoint himself. The training material was accredited by the police for him to use in the training. He didn't force it down. It was accredited by the police. So now coming to Paul Sullivan and say that he hasn't got a degree, really? Do you need a costume, trousers to swim? Can't you swim without it? Was it really required that he had a university degree to give the training? He was accredited by the SABs. So that's the facts. Let's don't forget the facts. CEO Pretoria.
Good morning, Clement and team. It's Modise here. Look, the issue of qualifications for Paul O'Sullivan, I think I can believe that he might have been appointed without one. I worked for a parastatal some years ago, and you would find people calling themselves engineers without an engineering degree, being white. And it was strange to me, and I thought it was only in that parastatal, but apparently in some of these parastatals, back in the days, if you had some core competence or whatever that is, degrees never mattered, but I think they mattered for the black folk. Cheers.
Yeah, which would really be so fascinating, hey? But again, that will also tell you a lot about the history of this country, even before and after the transition, what we were still stuck with. I'm I think Julius today, Malema, is going to ask that question because he's the one last night who said we need to find that job advert from AXA. Like, how do you hold such a senior executive and they didn't require even like a diploma or an equivalent of a degree? I mean, surely it can't be just because of the color of your skin and then they think you're competent enough to do the work. There's no way that was the case. So I'd like to see the job advert. What was the requirement in terms of qualifications? What was the requirement in terms of work experience?
Clement, I mean, come on. So many things can be true at the same time. Paul O'Sullivan could be useful as a crime buster and have contributed to the downfall of Jackie Selebi, the nabbing of Radovan Krejcir, etc., etc., etc. But he could also be an agent with an agenda that is not as virtuous as many of these callers are claiming. So let's not be naive. Let's let the ad hoc committee investigate his background and see what his real motives are, no matter what the outcome of that work that he does. The motives are important. It's important to know whether or not this man really has our country's best interests at heart. Spiwe in Johannesburg.
Yeah, and that's what's important to me. Does he have the country's interests at heart, the best interest of this country at heart? Isn't it fascinating how, like, there are people who feel, yes, this man was treated unfairly by the committee. But if you watch the committee yesterday, haven't they treated most of their witnesses like that? Like, have they not really gone to great lengths to try and understand, where have you been? And by the way, the reason it took so long, I think, with Paul O'Sullivan is because he didn't provide even a CV. He didn't provide even a summary of who he is, where he comes from, when he arrived in the country. None of that. Whereas with other witnesses, what makes it easier is already they've got a CV. Or at the very least, already they've got some summary of who Cedric Nkabinde is and where Cedric Nkabinde has worked, or Khomotso Pahlani, or General Mkhwanazi. Huh? Isn't that interesting, though, that there are certain people who suddenly think, oh no, they're being unfair on Paul O'Sullivan. Why must we care about what happened in the past? Have you had the same issues with other witnesses? Because I've raised how unfair some of the MPs have been to other witnesses. We've had this debate before on the open line. But oh, no, it's Paul now who comes. And some people are changing tack, which is why I'm saying I'm looking forward to Brown Mokhotzi's testimony. And I know members of parliament are going to be very hard on him, probably more harder than they are on Paul O'Sullivan. Oh, and I'm looking forward to getting your WhatsApp voice notes complaining about the unfairness of members of parliament towards Brown Mokhotzi. Let's see.
Hi guys, Andre here. I just think everybody always looks at what degree do you have or what have you studied. I mean, back in the day, I know accountants that didn't even study accounting. It was better accountants than accountants that studied accounting. So I think it's what you want to do and what you want to achieve. I mean, how do you study to become a private investigator? It's something that you want to do. You want to find perpetrators. You want to get to the bottom and solve the riddles. I think it's a mindset. You want to do what you want to do. It doesn't matter what you study. If you study something just to have a salary and just go sit in an office and do your job and get a salary at the end of the month, then your studying didn't matter at all. I think you've got to, if you can put your mind to something, it doesn't matter if you studied, you can do it. Like there's lots of entrepreneurs that's running great businesses that didn't study. So I don't think people have to look, you have to look into what guy studied or degree he has. It's what insight, what drives you. Anyway, have a good day. Thanks for the good show. Cheers.
Yo, guys, it must have been nice back in the day, hey? Like, you can be an accountant, but you didn't study accounting. You can hold a an executive position at a national key point without security clearance or a qualification that is an equivalent of a diploma or degree? That's so interesting. But also, the very same people that are now saying qualifications don't matter are always calling to complain about certain ministers who hold positions that they're not really qualified for, like a minister of health who has never even worked in the health industry. Or better yet, how many of you complained about Jacob Zuma, who only has, what? Standard 2. Oh, how can we have a president? I mean, you've just said now, as long as you put your mind to it, right? Jacob Zuma put his mind to it. In fact, he was a very good politician. Anybody who knows him, whether you corruption allegations and something else, you can accuse him of that. I'm not talking about any of that or how he's done governance. I'm talking about politics. He understood politics, so he put his mind to it. And yet, there are some of you that still complain. How dare we have a president who runs government who only has standard 2? But oh no, there's Paul O'Sullivan now, and let's not care about qualifications. It doesn't matter anymore. What's Zagalan?
There's much to say about where South Africa is, and even more about where it's going.
On Thursday, 12 February, President Cyril Ramaphosa delivers the State of the Nation address, live from Cape Town City Hall.
702 Cape Talk and Eyewitness News will be there, analyzing every word and bringing you the news as it breaks.
From the build-up to the address to the conversations that follow.
Join Clement Manyathela and Mandy Weiner for live coverage and in-depth analysis from 6 to 10 p.m.
Live on the radio or live stream on the Prime Media Plus app. Sona 2026. Thursday, 12 February.
Live on 702 Cape Talk and EWN.
Love is in the air this February. Join your favorite pride of Jozi, the DP World Lions ladies, for free this weekend at Dobsonville Stadium in Soweto. Catch the double header action against the Garden Route Badgers, a 50-over match at 10 a.m. Saturday and T20 at 11 a.m. Sunday. Beyond the boundary, it's love cricket with coaching clinics, player interactions, info sessions, and chill picnics. Win epic prizes like tickets to SA versus India Women's T20 at Wanderers in April, return flights, Sun City stays, vouchers, hampers, appliances, and more. Music's pumping. Come cheer on the Lions, ladies.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Alcohol drowns our hope and fuels our pain. Our streets are flooded. Our families are breaking. Women and children are not safe. Alcohol kills 100 people in South Africa every day. For more information, visit www.truecostofalcohol.africa. Increase excise tax on alcohol.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Joburg Water is being accused of applying temporary fixes instead of resolving deepening supply failures. Residents from Melville and surrounding areas gathered this morning to protest over the lack of water for almost a month. The entity says one of the reservoirs nearby Hurst Hill has had a crack for a while and was left on bypass. This resident says it's time for water authorities to work with universities to find long-lasting solutions.
Why are we not looking at the two universities in the area? We have the University of the Witwatersrand and the University of Johannesburg that both have excellent engineering departments. Why are we not calling on them to come in? I'm sure that younger people have got great ideas and have got the energy to perhaps help, or some of the big engineering firms.
Forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan is expected to return to Parliament's ad hoc committee this morning, where he will face questions about allegations levelled against him by previous witnesses such as KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and Minister Senzo Mchunu Chief of Staff Cedric Nkabinde. He told the members yesterday that he's not willing to be interrogated over allegations he says have been made against him by criminals, and he won't be part of a kangaroo court. O'Sullivan spent most of yesterday responding to questions about his professional and education background, as well as how he became a police reservist and a forensic examiner. Babalondenze reports.
Paul O'Sullivan will take the stand again today to give more evidence to the ad hoc committee about his own allegations of police corruption, where he's implicated several senior police officials. Most of yesterday focused on his background and how he was employed by the Airports Company of South Africa as the head of aviation security. But committee member Julius Malema says O'Sullivan has a lot to answer on police interference and other allegations.
Tomorrow we're going to have to answer the allegations that were made against him. So we will make sure he's going to answer those.
But O'Sullivan is not prepared to be interrogated, saying he spent 36 years of his life fighting crime and police corruption.
Instead of coming here to give evidence, I've come here to be interrogated on allegations made against me by criminals. Is that why I'm here? Because if that's why I'm here, I'm going to withdraw my cooperation. I'm not going to assist in a kangaroo court.
But MPs have rejected O'Sullivan's complaint and his threat to withdraw his participation before the committee. Babalondenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Build One South Africa leader Mmusi Maimane says the next leader of his former political home, the DA, should embrace a more inclusive vision for the country. Maimane says while he has no particular interest in who takes over from John Steenhuisen, he's standing by his version of events that he was told by the party's executive to resign as leader in 2019. This amid repeated claims by Steenhuisen that Maimane walked off the job and left him to pick up the pieces. Last week, Steenhuisen announced he was calling time on his leadership of the party, believing he's achieved all he set out to do after Maimane quit along with other party seniors. Lindsay Dentlinker reports.
In his 2024 memoir, Mmusi Maimane named Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis as a force behind his removal as DA leader. Now widely tipped to succeed John Steenhuisen, who will be calling it quits after 2 terms at the helm, Maimane says he's ambivalent about how the party's leadership race will play out.
The DA's leadership contestation isn't a contestation of ideas and ideals. It becomes a few people who can make decisions and then push and pull wherever they so want. And I think that to suggest that we walked off is certainly the most mischaracterization of history.
Maimane believes the DA's leadership race should be focused on who can evolve the party and its policies.
Is this going to be a DA that gets stuck in its old ways? Or is this going to be a DA that will reform, invite other people so that we could build an alternative for the future?
Despite his fallout with the party, Maimane says he's prepared to work with the next DA leader to realign the country's politics. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
And under pressure, Dutch brewer Heineken says it will scrap up to 6,000 jobs as it faces what it describes as challenging market conditions. The company says it would be accelerating productivity at scale to unlock significant savings, reducing 5,000 to 6,000 roles over the next 2 years. Its CEO, Dolf van der Brink, stunned the company last month by announcing that he would be stepping down after almost 6 years at the helm. Heineken employs around 87,000 people globally. The world's second biggest brewer after AB InBev says overall beer volumes were down 2.4% last year. Gold is trading at $5,048.57 an ounce. The rand is at 15.91 to the dollar, 21.75 to the pound, 18.96 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $69.26 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 North. This is between Van Buren Road and the Kilulis interchange. There's also queuing traffic reported along the Mike 1 North. In fact, an accident right after Xavier Street off-ramp. That's in the Omondi area and it's causing heavy delays. Please be on the lookout.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 29 and 31 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Joburg Water is being accused of applying temporary fixes instead of resolving deepening supply failures.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang. Welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela show. From wherever you're listening to us from. Maybe on your way to work, are you already at the office? And are you actually qualified for that job, or did you just put your mind to it? Because apparently that can fly in Sauda. Coming up at 11 o'clock, we're going to do our listener's choice feature. And today, we're going to look at what the law says about cohabitation. There are several people, many people, thousands in fact, if not millions, of people who live with their partners, but they don't want to get married. And it's a choice they've made. And I know we come up with these derogatory terms like fat and sad. And for some people, it's not really that. It's a decision they have made that we don't believe in marriage, we don't want to get married, but we want to live together, we want to be life partners. But you also have to consider what the law says, because you don't just take up, the status of a marriage, your relationship, just because you've lived with someone for 5 years or 3 years. So you still need to be quite cautious about what the law says. So we're going to tell you all about what you need to be aware of, and also cohabitation agreements, legal agreements that you can sign with your partner as well, if that's what you have chosen to do. So that's what's coming up at 11 o'clock on our Listener's Choice feature. And then at 11:30 on our Sharing Space, we've got such a fascinating story today about a couple that used to be together. They were married, ex-spouses. The woman and this man have got kids together. And the kids are really old enough. I think they're about 11, 12, if I'm not mistaken. The husband recently got married. And guess what? The kids were not invited to that wedding. And the husband was with the kids on a Friday, I think, and got married on a Saturday and still didn't even mention it to the kids. So the ex-wife has written to us and feels like this is a bit weird. So I'm going to read you her story. And if it's something you've experienced or you've got advice for her, please go ahead, because she's considering calling a meeting now with this husband, the new wife, and the kids, because this new wife is going to be part of this bigger family. So that's what we're going to talk about at 11:30. I'll read that email we received from our listener. But right now, we start our conversation with the Minister of Tourism.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
And her name is Patricia de Lille, who joins us now via Zoom from Cape Town. Minister de Lille, great to chat to you. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and to your team also. And thank you for the opportunity.
I want to start off with some green shoots, some positive news that we got not so long ago about South Africa recording over 10 million international arrivals in 2025. That's like a 17.6% increase and the highest ever. What did we actually get right this time around?
Well, Clement, it was not by coincidence, but by design of choosing deliberate policies and also forming partnerships with the private sector. So together we produced a tourism growth partnership plan that was approved by Cabinet, and we selected 5 priorities. And amongst the 5 priorities, we said the first issue that we need to settle for ease of access of people to come to our country is to deal with the visa reforms. And we have finally achieved that now with the electronic travel authorization that is being produced by Home Affairs together with State Security Agency and also the Department of Tourism. So that is a big enabler to draw more people to our country. We tested the system with G20 countries, and now we have got open skies for India, China, Indonesia, all of those big markets. But we also said that, we have not totally recovered in terms of the number of direct flights that we used to have before COVID. So our other strategy was we then started developing a joint strategy that we call route development marketing. And we went around the world and we contacted airlines and we marketed the country together with the private sector, because those are the two big things that you need to have. But what is also important is that destination marketing. Government put in about 1 billion, the private sector put in 30 billion. And I said, guys, let us have one joint market strategy. And that committee is chaired by Mr. Jerry Mabena, who is also the chairperson of the Tourism Business Council. And once we started pulling together and collaborating, you could see the visible difference. But then we also had to deal with the perception that, South Africa is all about safaris and Table Mountain. And we had to then start a deliberate campaign to market all 9 provinces, to begin to show our different tourism offering in our small towns, our villages, our townships, just to diversify our tourism offering. And the one success was the story of the Khadumudumu Dinosaur Interpretation Center, where we partnered with the private sector and the European Union, and we built this beautiful center right inside a national park, a Golden Gate in the Free State. And since we launched it in June last year, by December, we had received 80,000 visitors. Wow. So it's all part of the plan, but the final one is that we should be in is priority number 1 in terms of government's three key priorities to build an inclusive economy and job creation. So we also said that this is the budget of the contribution from government that we have to create jobs. Tourism presents a big potential to absorb many skilled and unskilled and semi-skilled people. And we can train them and we can put them into the private sector to get that experience. So government, we made 350 million rand available for the next financial year, where we will pay the stipend, the private sector will train young people. And one of the conditions that are put for paying the stipends is that after 1 year, they must be employed permanently within those institutions. So it was really a deliberate plan that we brought in, yes.
Was it mostly influenced by leisure tourism, or was it also driven by SADC travel and maybe even including economic migration?
Well, that is what we used to concentrate on in the past. Part of our new strategy is to say it's not just only leisure tourism. We've got sports tourism. Like, for instance, next month we'll be hosting Live Golf for the first time in the continent. And then tourism piggyback on the event, and we have designed packages for people to come before the Live Golf and stay after the Live Golf to visit our country. There is another opportunity coming in 2027 when we are hosting the Cricket World Cup. So we're also promoting sports tourism. And golf is big, soccer, rugby. So we're working together with Minister Mackenzie.
Yeah.
But we also started upping our game on business events that is part of tourism. And with the G20, we hosted more than 135 business events across all the 9 provinces, including the leaders event at Nasrec last year. And so we also had to go out into the rest of the world and compete for events to be hosted in South Africa. We then invested about 43 million rand. We bid for 91 international events. And so far, we've been successful to secure 55 events for this year now, and even into next year, including that we're being selected to host the World Economic Forum conference in Davos, also in 2027. So that has also helped a lot to grow the numbers.
Oh, that's great, because I mean last year business tourism generated around 900 million rand from about 59 or 51 or so international conferences. Speaking of sports tourism, I mean New Zealand as well. The All Blacks will be on tour in South Africa, so it's great that we see the department using these kind of events as opportunities to advance tourism. Minister, I know Europe has emerged as a key growth driver. The UK now overtaking the US as our largest source market. And we want to replicate this strategy elsewhere. So which markets are you setting your eyes on for expansion?
Well, first of all, the normal growth markets like the UK, the US, and Europe, we still have to service and maintain them. But we now set our sights on new markets. I have just returned from a trip to Southeast Asia, where we are targeting Indonesia. It's a big, big market, but the biggest Muslim community in the world. So we went there to market our Muslim-friendly halal tourism facilities that we have in South Africa. And I signed a memorandum of agreement with the Minister of Tourism there. The same with Malaysia is also a big market, and of course Singapore. But within that ASEAN region, you've got about 17 countries. So to penetrate the market, we then agreed to appoint local destination marketing companies that can penetrate on social media. There are big social media platforms where we are introducing South Africa as a choice of travel. And then, we want to inspire people from the region then to make that choice and decide to come and visit South Africa. But I'm also putting a lot more focus this year, and we've got a special marketing strategy for China and India. Because especially China, there are great opportunities. China don't have to worry about visa anymore. India don't have to worry about visa. Now what we must do is to make sure that we get more flights between China and India. So that is our strategy for the next year, 2 years. Because having achieved the 10.5 million visitors now in 2025, you have to show growth in 2026. And that's why we are looking at new markets also. Of course, Africa is our biggest market. Yesterday, I chaired the SADC Ministers of Tourism within the SADC region, where we also are talking about a uni-visa for people within the Southern Africa region, and how we can integrate and market, joint marketing to put packages. If people come to South Africa, South African Airways fly to most of the countries within the region. They can go to Botswana, they can go to Kenya, Zambia. So that plan is coming together now after yesterday's meeting. So we continue because Clement, the competition is stiff out there. The world owes us nothing. So we have to go out there and aggressively market South Africa. And that is the change that we have brought together with the private sector for the past 2 years, because we're still number 3 in the continent. It's Morocco, it's Egypt, and then us. And we really are working hard to try and put South Africa number 1. Because last year we were voted the best country to visit. And I must say thank you to the private sector, thank you to all the workers that are working in the sector. From the receptionists to the people who cleaning the rooms in guest houses all over our country. Our biggest asset is really our people. The Ubuntu, the warmth. I hear it wherever I travel. People comment to say how welcoming South Africans are. So we have got it all set up for us, and we have to continue to work damn hard to further even grow this market.
Yeah. The electronic travel authorization system, I mean, that has always been positioned as a game changer. When will it be fully rolled out, and how confident are you that Home Affairs can deliver seamlessly on this? And how is it going to be impacting your efforts?
Well, we estimate that for the first year with the ETA coming into effect, that we can create between an extra 80,000 to 100,000 jobs to the ETA. Because for every 12 arrivals to our country, you create 1 direct job and 3 indirect jobs. In my last discussion with the minister, because we are now putting a marketing strategy together to market the ETA all over the world. And from the end of March this year, it will become fully operational. Home Affairs is just currently working out the payment methodologies with the various financial institutions. So it is fully operational as from the 31st of March this year. But already, the G20 countries are using the ETA.
Okay. I want to talk a bit about Cape Town, because that is a city that's often also being voted as one of the best cities to visit around the world. It's been experiencing some mounting pressure from digital nomads and short-term rentals. You've got locals also complaining about high rental prices. So how do you then balance tourism growth with protecting local communities?
Yes. Well, yes, indeed, that is a concern. And that, short-term rental is part of the offering of a tourism package, where, and especially with a nomad visa, people can stay longer in our country. But it's a combination, Clement, of a high demand for accommodation in Cape Town, and of course, going together with apartheid spatial planning, whereby there is not enough affordable rental units or even housing within Cape Town. Because of apartheid spatial planning, the integration has really not taken place. In terms of the legal position, in 2019, Minister Hanekom had put a bill before Parliament to try and regulate the short-term rentals. That bill was never pushed through Parliament. I think it died a natural death. We came in and decided to review the white paper, and Cabinet approved the white paper in 2024. So where are we now? Currently, as the law stands, in terms of Section 8 of the Tourism Act of 2014, the best that I can do for now, before we amend the Tourism Act, is that we have put together a good code of practice for the short-term rental space. We have consulted with the Short-Term Rental Association, with Airbnb, and in the next 2 weeks, I will be publishing this code of good practice for short-term rentals for public participation.
Will that be voluntary,
that's all we can do
or will it include enforceable regulations, that rental code of conduct?
For now, it will be voluntary, Clement, until we can amend the Tourism Act, because it is in the white paper. Now we just need to amend the Act to make it possible to regulate. But it also goes into metros, the cities. The cities have bylaws for short-term rentals, but that is more related to their rates and taxes. And so we still have to consult with all the cities too and see what their bylaws implies and how we can find that balance between short-term rentals and the need for more housing opportunities in the center of our cities. We still continue with the apartheid spatial planning by building housing opportunities far away from the city centers. And so through correcting the spatial planning through cities, cities must do more. And then we can have a balance and provide affordable housing in the city centers, and we can have short-term rentals.
Yeah. I'll take some calls and some WhatsApps that are coming through, Minister. Some listeners have got some inputs and questions on
Yes.
011-883-0702 in conversation with the Tourism Minister, Patricia de Lille. You may have seen over the last couple of weeks a lot of talk about some green shoots in our tourism industry. We've recorded over 10 million international arrivals between Jan and December 2025, which is a 17%, just over 17% increase on the results of 2024, and the highest number ever recorded, actually. And if you saw the president's newsletter the other day, he was talking about how this is actually a vote of confidence in South Africa's brand appeal. But there's a lot more you want to do. You don't also want to see an over tourism becoming a real risk, especially in hotspots like Cape Town. So the minister saying that they're looking at spreading tourism hotspots more evenly across provinces. What questions do you have? What input do you have? And before we go to the headlines, Minister, and then take the questions and voice notes, I want to quickly ask about crime, because that remains one of the country's biggest brand risks. Our current tourism safety measures, including the deployment of, I think it was over 2,300 tourism monitors. Is that enough? And how closely are you working with the SAPS to address crime hotspots affecting visitors?
Yes, we have already 2 years ago came up with a joint plan between all the stakeholders, South African Police Services, the National Prosecuting Authority, all the MECs, all the tourism authorities, and we meet on a quarterly basis to assess what more can be done. We have also got a crisis communication that we use in the event a tourist is attacked, because we regret the attack on any visitor. And as it is the main mandate of South African police to provide safety to all South Africans and our visitors, we still are working together. And this is what we've been doing for the past 2 years, Clement. The private sector invested in an application called the Secure app. So when a visitor and even local visitors download the app, you've got access at the press of a button to the South African Police Service, to about 300 private security companies. There's also a medical alert on there in case it's a medical emergency. And then we have got an operational center in Johannesburg, in Sandton, that is manned and operating on a 24-hour basis, 365 days a year. We also have got a memorandum of agreement with Google, and where those hotspots are, we engage with Google like we've done in the city of Cape Town, close by the airport, when one tourist was killed 2 years ago. So it's a big partnership. From government side, we put in 174 million, and we recruited 2,300 young South Africans. We trained them, accredited training, NQ level 4, and the police also trained them. And we then identified all the frequently visited areas in our country, like Table Mountain and some of our other national parks, and we deployed them there. Even now, this December, we also deployed 400 tourism monitors to the Border Management Authority and also to our Tambo airport. So we then also provide an aftercare service. If there was being attack on anybody, we come in, we provide interpretation services, we contact the embassies, we make sure that for the rest of the stay in our country, they will be safe. And then, of course, the NPA has changed the legislation. If the police take down a case and a case number, and that case, normally the visitors were reluctant to lay charges because they don't want to come back to our courts. But the NPA Act is being amended to make it possible for any person to appear from anywhere in the world virtually. So we shared this plan with all the missions that are based in South Africa. We shared our plan with all the South African missions so that, we can give confidence that we do have a plan.
Yeah.
You will see in all the hotels and guest houses, they've got safety tips there. So it's not that we are doing nothing. We constantly, every 3 months, we meet and then we update the plan.
Yeah, that's good to know, because even the travel advisories continue to impact perceptions abroad. So we must win this battle on the global perceptions of safety. Minister, there are questions coming through, so I'm going to get to the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. And when we come back, we are going to go straight to your calls, your WhatsApps as well. If you've got inputs, if you think you've got some tips for the minister on how we can advance our tourism industry and continue to have it on the upscale, or you've got questions for her, keep them coming on the WhatsApp line or give us a call. Swiso, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Joburg Water is being accused of applying temporary fixes instead of resolving deepening supply failures. Residents from Melville and surrounding areas gathered this morning to protest over the lack of water for almost a month. The entity says one of the reservoirs near Hurst Hill has had a crack for a while and was left on bypass. The MK party views the State of the Nation address as a performative political exercise rather than a true reflection of the state of the country. Interim Parliamentary leader Des van Rooyen says his party is not holding its breath that this year's address will be much different from any of the previous ones delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And recently appointed National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Jan Lehua Mothibi, says he will ensure higher conviction rates during his tenure. Mothibi joined Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster officials at a ministerial imbizo in Athlone in Cape Town yesterday as part of government's pre-Sona activities. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling on the M1 South, we've got an accident leaving Sandton along the M1 South right after Corlett Drive. It's causing delays. Please be on the lookout. Delays from Grayston Drive, about a 15-minute hold up there. The M1 North is also backed up. This is due to onlookers, so please try to keep it moving if you're traveling on the opposite side of the road. While traveling on the N3 North, queuing traffic between Van Buren Road and the Kilulis interchange. There's also queuing traffic on the N12 as well as the R24 West approaching the Kilulis interchange. Then if you're traveling in Omondi, we've got delays. This is just as we come out of Xavier Street due to an earlier accident. There's also queuing traffic reported in Protea Glen along the N12 West approaching the R558. Please be on the lookout there. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra presents its Valentine's Gala concert with music to melt your heart. Conducted by Daniel Boyko, the concert features award-winning pianist Charles Duplessis and showcases South Africa's ballroom champions. Saturday, 14th February at 7 p.m. at the Linda Auditorium. Tickets at Quicket.
Today's forecast is calm conditions inside your Mazda CX-5. It'll be warm, so likely your cabin chills before you even ask. Patches of scattered traffic, but with heads-up display and lane keep assist, you'll feel like you're alone on the road. Clouds this evening. Perfect for that Bose sound system. And later, skin tingles as you take that curve a little too beautifully. The feeling will find you in the Mazda CX-5. Wonder awaits.
Smart Steve from Momentum, hello.
Smart Steve, my daughter just turned 18, right? And now she's got a license and a boyfriend.
You're worried about her safety. With Momentum Safety Alert, she can access help 24/7.
Is that the emergency response version of Curry in a Hurry?
For sure. She can get help at the touch of a button for free.
Free? For all that and all?
Visit momentum.co.za or call 0860 006 784. Momentum Insure, keeping you safe on your journey to success. Momentum Insure is an authorized non-life insurer. T's and C's apply.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
24 minutes before 11 o'clock, we're in conversation this hour with Patricia de Lille, who is the Minister of Tourism. And I want to give you an opportunity to engage with her as well. There are some messages that are coming up on the WhatsApp line, some calls as well. So let me start with this WhatsApp voice note.
Hi, Clement. I just wanted to ask the Minister if they have a rural tourism strategy, in the sense that what I find often is that the tourists always go to the township. There seems to be a township strategy that's underway. There's even, the suburbs and the urban areas. But are they developing something particularly where if an overseas tourist wants to get the rural experience, similar to like how people would go to the countryside of France to get the wine experience, or, the various almost like agricultural offerings? Are they developing a tourism strategy around the agricultural offerings? This is Koketso from Joburg.
Oh, brilliant question, Koketso. Something I've been thinking about as well. Minister?
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, indeed, we have gone past the strategy phase. We do have a tourism growth partnership plan with the private sector, with all the tour operators and the trade. And yes, indeed, tourism is a concurrent function in government. So you have got your provincial tourism authorities and MECs. You also have got your local government MMCs. And we always connect to try and make sure that when we market our country, we showcase everything that is available. On agriculture, a lot of the wine farms have diversified, and you can now they've got restaurants, they've got guest houses where people can, if you choose to want to stay on a wine farm. So yes, agriculture tourism is also growing. If people, locals want to get a getaway for the weekend, they can go to any of these farms. Not only wine farms, you also have farms with animals, with ostriches and all of that. So there is an agricultural tourism strategy or plan that we have implemented. And if she can leave her details, I will send her the plan and more information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kulupasiwe on the WhatsApp line also says, Clement, Astro tourism is another great opportunity that the department can and should look into. The Karoo area offers some of the darkest skies in the world for stargazing. We already have the square kilometer array in Kamavon and the largest optical telescope in Sutherland, Cape Town. You've got Johannesburg, Hartbeespoort Hoek, and Bloemfontein also have those for people who can't afford to travel to the Northern Cape. That's a message there from Kulupasi. We're talking about opportunities that also exist in astrotourism, Minister.
Yes, definitely. We are aware about it, and we have invested to build an astro-tourism information center in Carnarvon, in partnership with the Ministry of Science and Technology. Last year, we launched the International Tourism Day there. We did stargazing. You are correct. It's the most beautiful dark skies that you can experience. And astrotourism is part of what we are promoting also as the package of what people can do while they are here. We have now developed a master plan so that we can start building and get investment into guest houses, hotels in the area. There is a shortage. There's also a golf course that was built in Carnarvon in the desert that some of our local golf legends are sponsoring. So yes, we do have a plan around Carnarvon, but also a plan around Boegoebaai. Boegoebaai is where they are going to build a deep sea port to import green hydrogen, and then we piggyback on that to start in getting investment for infrastructure like access roads, like building hotels and restaurants and all of that. Yes, there are great opportunities. We've got the biggest SKA in the world, and people and scientists come from all over the world to see it. So thank you for that question.
I've got another one here from Tracy who says, Clement, it's cheaper to book a holiday overseas than a holiday in the Western Cape over the festive season. Please ask the minister about that. Also, it is sad to see how foreign nationals are more employed in this sector than the locals. It's uncomfortable when you see the poverty. We took a wrong turn and landed in a colored community. We were quite shocked. The Western Cape needs to do better to be more inclusive. But the main question there, Minister, from Tracy, is around just affordability levels, because it does sometimes feel like our tourism industry is catering for international travelers, but there are people who want to travel locally, but they find it too expensive because they're pricing for dollars and not for our weak rands.
Yes, there are certainly certain areas in our country that's really just focusing on the international market, on the the dollars and the pound and the euros. And yes, it is very expensive for domestic tourism, especially in Cape Town. One is because of the high demand and the high prices. And, I get many calls over the holidays to say, I can't find accommodation and hotel for less than 10, 15,000 Rand a night. I'm sure now with the hosting of the mining indaba that's taking place and the opening of Parliament, some of my staff members from Johannesburg had to stay as far away as Grabouw. So there is a need for more hotel beds in our country. We are definitely behind our competitors. And that is why we have now developed our own tourism infrastructure package of infrastructure investment opportunities. We had our first investment summit in September last year. We're going to have our second one now in September this year. We have already packaged 8 infrastructure projects, more than 1 billion Rand that we are looking for investment. But the domestic market is really the bedrock of our tourism sector. In terms of affordability, what we do together with South African Tourism is that once a year we partner with the private sector to put packages together, discounted packages up to 50% discount. And then we market those facilities because we realize that, people can't, the cost of living is very high. And so the Short Left campaign that we do every year with the private sector is giving domestic tourists that option to travel. And you can book a package during the Short Left campaign and then decide which date you want to go. But I want to agree that affordability in the city of Cape Town, I spoke to them. I said, you're going to price yourself out of the market. Already local people can't afford it. And we always have to try as tourism leaders to find that balance so that our locals can also enjoy the beauty of our country. We're blessed with so many beautiful things, God-given things to us. And we must make sure that our local people can also afford to enjoy those facilities.
They must also enjoy this country of theirs. It's theirs as well. Let's go.
It's theirs, yes.
Yeah, 2 more questions from Amelia says, hi Clement, I've got this question for the minister. Recently I saw iSpeed, the influencer was in Cape Town drawing large crowds and eyeballs in on Cape Town. Was this a tourism department-led initiative? I must confess, Minister, I don't know who this person is, but apparently he's an influencer who influences about travel, goes around the world, but he seems to have quite some incredible following. Was that backed by the Department of Tourism, is what Amelia is asking?
Definitely, because that is the new way of marketing. And even when we host now, we're going to host Meetings Africa between the 23rd and the 25th of February in Sandton. We bring about 50 African countries together. But we also bring, as part of our marketing strategy, a lot of bloggers and influencers, and we call them hosted media. And then after the event, we take them around the country, and they are able to then share their own experience with their followers all over the world. Last week, I did give recognition to High Speed for the work that they are doing, and we have now partnering with them because there's an existing platform that reach millions of people, and we're certainly going to invite him back and many other bloggers, especially from India, China, Indonesia, those markets that we are targeting now. And we appreciate that, the work done by the bloggers, and some of them are very objective. They will also give us advice where we can improve. The one advice was a complaint about how slow our service is at our fast food chains, and that they had to wait long at a certain food chain for their food. And we take that feedback and we share it with the sector so that we can try and improve all the time.
Yeah. All right. It's going up to 12 minutes now before 11 o'clock. There are some more questions coming through via calls and the WhatsApp line. I'll start with them after this.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
We've spoken about water issues, water wastage. How did we get here, Dr. Adam?
It's what happens when you don't spend the right amount of money on maintenance over an extended period, and where you lose money because of corruption.
Dr. Adam, I want you to stay on the line. Rose, you're a senior citizen. How long have you been without water?
We're going on for our third week now, and when I say we have no water, I don't mean low pressure, I mean not a drop. I'm 87 years old and I live alone. It is really quite a struggle.
Sure. Dr. Adam, do you think this Minister Phemi Majodina, is she the right one? Clouds are gathering?
No.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Joburg Ballet presents Giselle, the sublime of all romantic ballets at the Joburg Theatre from Thursday the 12th of February to Sunday the 15th of February. Giselle is a heart-rending story of love, so powerful that it reaches from beyond the grave. It lays bare a tale of passion, betrayal and forgiveness with one of the greatest of all ballerina roles at its core. There'll be 2 Valentine's Day performances at the Joburg Theatre on Saturday the 14th of February at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. It's really the ideal opportunity to celebrate this romantic ballet with your Valentine. And later this month, Giselle will be at the South African State Theatre in Pretoria from Friday the 20th of February to Sunday the 22nd of Feb. You can book your tickets for Giselle at webtickets.co.za.
Final call for boarding.
Building a life across borders starts with choices. Visas, a second passport, citizenship, your child's education abroad. And sometimes those choices can be overwhelming. For 30 years, Sable International has simplified global mobility, including cross-border tax, forex, and wealth management, helping you make the right choices with expertise and care. Build your future beyond borders. Visit us at sableinternational.com.
For over 30 years, Midday Cargo has been keeping South Africa's supply chain moving, giving our economy the dedicated cargo capacity it needs. Whether it's really, really urgent, oversized, or hazardous, when a shipment has to fly, we make it happen. Linking all major airports with reliable freighter services, our promise delivers. Midday Cargo. Every kilo counts.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
It's 9 minutes now before 11 o'clock. Conversation with the Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille. I want to give you some extra couple of minutes to ask her some questions. I've got lots of WhatsApp messages that are coming through. Let's start here.
Good morning, Clement and 702 listeners. Thank you for bringing the Minister of Tourism to us, and we appreciate the good work that has been done and the increasing number of the tourism. The question that I have, Clement, is what's the plan that the Minister has for us as in South African locals, local people, because we find out that as much as we would love to travel, we cannot manage to pay for these expensive hotels, expensive accommodation. We feel like it's being marketed for overseas people, people that just got euros. You pay the same hotel as someone with $100 is easy to pay for a hotel of 2 point something here in South Africa. What is the minister has in plan for us? My apology for being long. I would really appreciate the minister to do something for us. Nice show as always, Clement. It's Max here, Honeydew.
Thank you, Max, for your question. Aneka as well says, Clement, it's not just Cape Town that's expensive. The Kruger National Park is also quite hellish expensive. Yeah, Minister, go ahead.
Yes, Clement, the Portfolio Committee on Tourism last year has instructed the department to start looking at the regional pricing so that you've got a different price for locals, for people from the region and from international. We have started the process already. Sand parks, Kruger National Park, they already are using a regional pricing system. So they have got a different price for locals, for region, and for international. But we need to look at a way of making it applicable not only to sand parks, but even to hotels and guest houses. So the work has started on that because it is a good idea. And many countries around the world, they have this different pricing structure. So I'm hoping that before the end of 2026, we will be able to complete the whole regulatory process, do public consultation with it, with all the inbound organizations. But there is really a big appetite for it, and many, many people have asked for it. So, Max, we are working on something, and, watch the space.
Yeah. Let me, before I go to some extra questions there, Minister, how is SA tourism stability now? Do you still have no permanent CEO, COO, and CMO? And are there several vacancies there? And how are they, because I wonder how that is impacting on performance.
No, not anymore. Since last year already, the board has already appointed a full-time CFO, a Chief Financial Officer. They have appointed the head of internal audit. On the 9th of February, a day or two ago, the advertisement closed for the applications for Chief Operations Officer and a Chief Marketing Officer. So the board has really been doing very, very well. In terms of the CEO, the CEO, the disciplinary processes have started there, and that should be concluded by the end of the month. In the meantime, we have appointed an acting CEO from the Department of Tourism, Dr. Shamila Chetia. So there's no crisis. The board is being able to manage it. It's non-executive directors of the board working together with the administration, the executive team. we've been able to get the preparations done for Meetings Africa that's starting now in the end of February. We started the preparations for the Africa Travel in Durban, and I'm very pleased with the performance of the board. But to put a permanent board in place, we have advertised last year for more than 45 days. The applications closed on the 5th of December. We have now started the process to do the shortlisting and the interviews, and then I then have to take recommendations to Cabinet for approval. So a stability is there. I must thank, some of the staff members of SAT who's really gone the extra mile. And then, of course, we have got a lot of assistance from the Tourism Business Council, where we had some blockages. We appealed to the Tourism Business Council, and through their board, they've been able to second skills to us. So we've been able to manage and mitigate the impact. But the vacancies is no longer an issue in SAT.
All right.
And we are working on appointing the new board.
Okay.
Thank you, Clement.
I got that. Just quickly, Minister, we've got 10 seconds left. Tula says, Clement, a question for the Minister. Why don't we charge visa fees for Europeans when they charge us exorbitant visa entry fees?
I agree with you. Every country has got their own internal visa prices. And now the Minister of Home Affairs, whose mandate it is, will look at the fee that in terms of the electronic authorization system, they are going to charge a fee. But I agree with you, it's exorbitant prices that we have to pay for Shanghai and all of these visas. And it's those countries' decisions, and we have raised it with them in the past to, they come free to South Africa and we get nothing in return from them. It's an issue that we're continuously working on with the embassies based in South Africa and those countries.
Got it. Minister, thank you so much for making time for us, and all the best.
Thank you, Clement. Thank you. All the best to you too and your team.
2
Thank you.
minutes
Bye-bye.
before 11.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a Clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. It's easy to apply. No medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Flip Flop Day brings South Africans together to support children and teenagers diagnosed with cancer.
Taking part is really simple. Get a 10 Rand sticker and wear your flip-flops on Friday the 20th of February.
Funds raised help Chalk Childhood Cancer Foundation SA provide essential support to these families.
So join me, Carrie Ann Alliston, and my friend Zota, and let's show the Chalk families they're not walking this journey alone.
Together, we can make a real difference. For more details,
visit chalk.org.za.
The Checkers Extravaganza is now on. Save extra on new deals every week. Like Nescafe Cappuccino Sticks 10 per pack for $59.99. Lindt Lindor Chocolate Cornets 200 grams for $149.99. And Sensodyne Toothpaste Selected Variants 75 mils for $49.99 each. Valid until 15 February 2026. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Joburg Water is being accused of applying temporary fixes instead of resolving deepening supply failures. Residents from Melville and surrounding areas gathered this morning to protest over the lack of water for almost a month. The entity says one of the reservoirs near Hurst Hill has had a crack for a while and was left on bypass. This resident says it's time for water authorities to work with universities to find long-lasting solutions.
Why are we not looking at the two universities in the area? We have the University of the Witwatersrand and the University of Johannesburg that both have excellent engineering departments. Why are we not calling on them to come in? I'm sure that younger people have got great ideas and have got the energy to perhaps help, or some of the big engineering firms.
The MK party views the State of the Nation address as a performative political exercise rather than a true reflection of the state of the country. Interim Parliamentary leader Des van Rooyen says his party is not holding its breath that this year's address will be much different from any of the previous ones delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa. It will be the second State of the Nation address that Ramaphosa will deliver on behalf of the Government of National Unity, and in which he will have to recognize the work done by ministers from other political parties. Lindsay Dentlinga reports.
The Umkhonto we Sizwe party says Sona has ceased to function as a credible instrument of national planning, accountability or state coordination. Parliamentary leader Des van Rooyen expects President Cyril Ramaphosa to once again make much of Operation Vulindlela when he delivers the Sona. This is government's reform program to get state-owned entities to function optimally.
That Vulindlela was not meant for our people because our people are still unemployed. And if there are any changes in employment figures, they are close to nothing.
Van Rooyen says government's developmental agenda remains reliant on apartheid-era infrastructure and is failing to create much-needed employment.
How are we going to build infrastructure if austerity is at the center of your allocation?
Van Rooyen says government is also failing to aggressively use its assets to generate more revenue for the state. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Recently appointed National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate John Lekgoa Motibi, says he will ensure higher conviction rates during his tenure. Motibi joined Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster officials at a ministerial imbizo in Cape Town yesterday as part of government's pre-Sona activities. The meeting was part of an integrated crime and violence prevention strategy with a specific focus on gangsterism, murder and gender-based violence in the Western Cape. Carlo Peterson was there.
Advocate Jan Lekgoa Motibi was appointed as the new National Director of Public Prosecutions just more than a month ago. Yesterday, he told Athlone residents at a Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster in Bizo that crime and corruption clearly requires attention.
We will make sure we work with the police to ensure that the dockets don't take too long to be investigated.
Motibi says thorough investigations will help prosecutors achieve higher conviction rates to put criminals behind bars. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And today marks 36 years since former President Nelson Mandela's release from prison. Mandela was released from the then Victor Foster prison in 1990 after 27 years behind bars. His release signaled a pivotal shift in the country's political and democratic trajectory. Camray Clark reports.
At approximately 4:14 p.m, Nelson Mandela walked free from what is today Drakensberg Correctional Facility. He travelled from the PAL facility to the Grand Parade, where the world would see his face for the first time in 27 years. President Cyril Ramaphosa was present, holding the microphone as Madiba raised his fist, chanting Amandla.
I stand here before you not as a prophet, but as a humble servant of you, the people. Your tireless and heroic sacrifices have made it possible for me to be here today.
Madiba made his exit through the back of City Hall and was whisked away from a crowd of an estimated 100,000 people in a motorcade that slowly fought its way through a sea of people. Camray Clark, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $5,048.57 an ounce. The rand is at 15.91 to the dollar, 21.75 to the pound, 18.96 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $69.26 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got an accident. It's really a major one heading towards Harton. It's on the M1 South. It happened right near Glenhove Road. Delays coming out of Greyston Drive. There's also queuing traffic on the northerly direction of this route. And then if you're traveling in Mayfair as well as Amalgam, do be on the lookout for heavy traffic volumes along Main Reef Road towards Crownwood Road. Crownwood Road in itself is backed up between Main Reef and Albertina Sisulu Road.
Albertina Sisulu.
Okay, Clement, a partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 29 and 31 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, Joburg Water is being accused of applying temporary fixes instead of resolving the deepening supply failures.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. I was joking there with Amoramele because when I was standing in for Bongani on Monday last week or this week? Last week Monday, we had a conversation on the breakfast show about the name. Someone suggested that it must be Mama Winnie Mandela Drive as opposed to Winnie Mandela Drive. So Albertina Sisulu, Me Albertina Sisulu. Someone also suggested that like Hendrik what road must be Hendrik what road. So it's just a joke there with Amoramela. At 11:30, we've got the sharing space coming up. But right now, we start with our Listener's Choice feature.
Burning questions.
Insightful answers.
Listener's Choice.
With Clement Manyathela.
So on our Listener's Choice feature this morning, we are discussing something that affects a lot of people out there. We're discussing what the law says about cohabitation. Do you stay with your partner and you're not married? Like, do you know what the law actually says about your cohabitation? We're having this conversation because more and more South Africans than ever before are choosing to live together without getting married. You know, for some, it's about love without labels. For others, it's just a practical decision. You know, you're sharing your expenses, you're raising children together, or you are still testing compatibility before taking the next step. And many couples believe that once you've lived together long enough, the law will eventually recognize the relationship. But that belief is actually one of the biggest and most dangerous misconceptions in this country, because the reality is that our law does not recognize so-called common law marriages, in that, you know, living together, even for many years, does not automatically give couples the same legal rights as a marriage. So when relationships end, or when one partner passes away, people often discover too late that love and commitment do not translate into legal protection. So you've got to be quite cautious. I'd like to know, if you live with a partner and you're not married, have you chosen to cohabit and don't plan to get married? How are you protecting your union legally? You can share your thoughts with us on 011-883-0702 or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Co Van Deventer is an attorney and director at VDM Incorporated Attorneys, who is joining us on the line, will be guiding us through this conversation. Thank you so much for making time for us. Cor, good morning.
Morning, Clement, and good morning to your listeners, and thanks for having me. Look forward to having an important discussion with you regarding a myth, as you say.
Yeah. So living together as a couple, that doesn't somehow translate into the same rights as marriage in South Africa, right?
We often get that question, Clement. We've lived together for 5 years, for 10 years. We bought property together. Are we now in a common law marriage, as per se? And the clear answer to that is no. In South Africa, there's no such thing as a common law marriage, as we would find in some European countries and some Commonwealth countries, for that matter. In South Africa, you're either married or you're not. And we get that same question when people come buy property as well with us, and they do or want to buy property. And they say, but we've been living separately for 10 years, van tafel en bed geskei, as we would call it in Afrikaans. There's no such thing. You're either married or you're divorced until such time as a court has issued you a decree of divorce. So we often get those questions. We've lived together for 5 years. We've separated now. Can I claim? What can I claim? And also, as you said, these questions sometimes unfortunately pop up when the one common life partner has passed away, and then there's an estate that has to be dissolved between family members and other people.
Yeah. So, I mean, that then makes it tricky for couples out there. Like if a couple buys a house together, for instance, but they're not married, how does the law then decide who owns what?
So, firstly, let's start if you are going to be living together and making big financial decisions together with your life partner, whether it is a woman or a man, and you in a same-sex relationship, the situation is the same. Our advice is always have the difficult discussion up front and then formalize it by signing a cohabitation agreement, which makes provision for either then rehabilitative maintenance. If we buy property, in what shareholding are we buying property? Should the relationship break up, who is responsible for what debt? Who gets what assets? And is there anything like rehabilitative maintenance that the other partner has to pay to the other one in the relationship?
I see. So what do you then advise before we get to some more questions? Because I'm suppose anybody listening to this conversation where they're living with their partner, but they're not married, they're probably asking, okay, how do we protect ourselves then? So what's your advice for couples that are living together, whether this is temporary, they still want to decide whether they want to get married or not, or it's maybe couples who've decided to be life partners, they don't want to get married. How can they protect themselves legally?
My advice, as I said earlier, sign what we call a cohabitation agreement or a life partnership agreement. That is a contract, Clement, that they sign basically between the two partners that makes provision for various circumstances. If one breaches, that they will be in breach of contract. But what we would also advise people in that situation is to notarially execute that cohabitation agreement, which makes it even more enforceable against the other partner in the relationship. And also, secondly, update your will. We don't want to talk about it, but unfortunately, we have to deal with our assets after death as well, and make sure that a cohabitation agreement is in place. And secondly, that your will is updated regularly as your life circumstances changes, whether you're buying property together, whether you have assets together, car, debt, or anything. Make sure your will is updated and a proper agreement. It's difficult to say when we're going into a relationship, let's sign a contract. But we often find that where couples are in love, they buy a property together, make big financial decisions. And unfortunately, as time lapses and life carries on, you break up. You're stuck now, not stuck with the property, where the one partner might end up having to pay the bond, and how that relationship dissolves. And it also affects your credit record going forward, because the other partner might be looking at leasing a property, and due to there being defaults on the repayments of the bond, it affects your credit history, which, I mean, it's your credit history is there for 24 months. So it affects you not only short term, it affects your life for the next couple of years going forward, should you break up and not provision has not been made on how we are going to exit this life partnership cohabitation agreement going forward. 5 years down the line, we might decide to break up. What is the strategy then? Do I pay the bond? Do you pay the insurance? Do we pay the maintenance? Do we transfer the property, my 50% into your name? There are so many factors that we can look at, and those are difficult decisions that you have to discuss before buying property. I mean, property is most probably the the biggest investment that you will make in your life going forward. And the last thing you want is for you to be stuck with a property that you cannot afford, having to default, and it affects your credit history and your life for many years to come.
So in simple terms, don't make big financial decisions with someone if you don't have some kind of legal agreement, because then it may come back to haunt either of you.
Discuss the difficult scenarios before you enter in them. I always say, rather have the discussion before than having it after. It helps a lot. And
so in cases where, like, because you mentioned that, you know, there are cases where people have lived together and then after a breakup, maybe a partner wants to claim maintenance after breakup. Because, I mean, there are instances where there's one partner who contributes financially and the other contributes in non-financial ways, like maybe caregiving or running the home. How have those cases been dealt with? So are you saying that completely there's just no other way that you're going to be able to even claim maintenance after a breakup, no matter what evidence you can even provide, even to the court, to show that I've lived with person, this is how I contributed to the household? For as long as there's no legally binding agreement, then you're on the back foot.
So, if there's no legally binding agreement, and let's make that assumption now, there's no automatic right to maintenance for the other partner in the relationship. There is what we call, if you do approach the court, Clement, you'll have to prove if you claim for a division of assets. In other words, we have to divide the house that's been paid off, or whatever division of assets we are looking for. You'll have to approach the court then and prove that a universal partnership has been in operation, which means it was formed for the joint benefit of you and your other partner. You both contributed to it, whether financially or, like you say, doing labor, looking after the kids, looking after a parent, or whatever the case may be, and that there was the intention to make a profit, in other words, accumulate assets. So that is the division of assets on the one side. If there were children born during the relationship, obviously the Maintenance Act and the Children's Act will kick in, where both partners will be liable for the maintenance of the children according to what they can afford. Now, that becomes a very difficult calculation because some people would want to hide assets in trusts and stuff like that, and we've seen that. So division of assets on the one side, you'll have to prove universal partnership. If there are children, there's automatic maintenance, Clement, and where both partners are responsible for the maintenance on that side. And on the maintenance side for the other partner, very difficult. And at this stage, no automatic right to that unless there is a cohabitation agreement in place, signed by all the parties with everything that is agreed upon. And also, like I suggested, notarially executed in front of a notary.
Okay. 18 minutes after 11 o'clock. I'm taking your calls on 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApps also, if you've got questions, on 072-702-1702. We're discussing what the law says about cohabitation. There are people who live with their partners, but do you actually know what the law says? What happens if either of you die? What happens if there's a breakup? Maybe you've bought a home together, or maybe some contents of the home, you've purchased that together. What happens when there's a breakup? Can you legally claim certain things? It gets really tricky if there's no legal agreement, as Ko is saying. I want to take some questions from listeners now, Ko, if you don't mind. There's a question here about at what point then should couples consider signing that legal agreement? So if you've met someone and we've been dating for 2 months or maybe for 6 months, we've just moved in together. Do I do it like the first month of moving in together, or maybe after a year? What would you advise?
The short advice there, Clement, I think even before you make the decision, if we're moving in together and let's say you're signing a lease together, the two partners, I would even start making provision for such an agreement beforehand. Because sometimes, unfortunately, also relationships don't even last long term. It's something might happen in the first 6 months. And one of the partners might then be liable for the remainder of the lease. There's deposits that are paid. So the short of that is before you as a couple make any big financial decisions, and big financial decisions these days are even rentals, because sometimes up to 3 months deposit is payable up front. And if you breach that lease, then you're liable jointly and severally for any damages. And that damages that the landlord might suffer might be 6 months of the lease. So before you even make decisions like that, I would suggest just to have some sort of agreement in place, what the financial decisions are and who's liable for what, should that end during that term.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a question on Twitter from Tsepo who says, please can you ask Cor there, I have been staying with my partner for 3 years now, and we've been considering this legal agreement, but we're just not sure what to include in the agreement. So I suppose Cor, he's trying to figure out like what are the most important things that should be included in this agreement when you're drafting it.
Well, good question there, actually, Clement. So in that agreement, make provision for property and property ownership, whether it might be a vehicle that you're jointly buying, or a house, or should you buy a house together, in terms of that. What the financial contributions are, and in terms of the relationship. Sometimes we find people that will break it up into percentages or according to their salaries. Sometimes the one partner earns considerably more than the other one, and then it would be unfair to have a 50-50 partnership. You can make provision for that, where Cor might contribute 70% and his partner 30% towards the household expenses.
Must that be on paper, or that can just be a gentleman's agreement?
Yes. If it's not on paper, Clement, and like I said, and agreed by both, it's going to be very difficult to enforce in court, and then again, as I said, materially execute that agreement. And also then, Clement, just in terms of that, also assets, make provision for that, and exit strategy. What happens should this relationship end? So those four pointers are super important in terms of that. Obviously, if we can contract on different things. Who's responsible for what, kids, and those type of things also. But those would be the main pointers that I would have that listener look at when considering drafting that agreement.
Okay. And then are there any cases, by the way, where the courts have ruled in favor of a cohabiting partner?
So the Magwenya case in 2021, Clement, that was regarding interstate succession and whether the surviving spouse could claim from the estate in terms of interstate. In other words, there was no will in place, and that was a constitutional court decision, so a very important decision which said yes, the surviving spouse can now claim from the estate on provision that they can prove that there was a permanent life partnership in place. And they can also claim maintenance from the estate then. So that was a very important decision, 2021. As we know, the Constitutional Court is the highest court in the country, so that case is binding on all life partnerships going forward. Again, yes, you can claim assets from the estate, and you can also claim maintenance, but you'll have to prove that there's a permanent life partnership in place.
Okay. And then Tibato is asking, does the notarial cohabitation agreement become null and void once the life partners or the couple enter into civil marriage or civil union?
Yes. Obviously, that overrides. So civil union is for same-sex marriages. And then we have the Marriages Act that is applicable to all marriages in South Africa. So that will override, and then obviously they would have to decide before they get married. We all, I think, saw in the news towards the end of last year regarding customary marriages, when was it concluded, and whether a customary marriage concluded and whether the civil marriage afterwards now, which one overrides which. So the courts were very clear, once a customary marriage is concluded, it overrides of a civil marriage at the end of the day. So before you get married, decide to sign an antenuptial contract. Before you get married and enter into a marriage, Otherwise, we can post-nuptially register those contracts, but the cost of that is quite prohibitive, Clement.
Hi Clement, I cohabited with my ex-partner for years and we shared expenses equally. When the relationship ended, I walked away with nothing since the house was in her name. No complaints. I've made peace with it and viewed my contribution as rent. Lesson learned: if you're planning, number one, don't cohabit. Number two, if you're planning on cohabiting, involve a lawyer and put a proper agreement in place from the start. Thanks. Cheers. Bye.
Yeah, that's someone sharing their experience there. Because you're just thinking, it's just much easier for us to do this. Just come stay with me. I own the house, and you can just pay rent, or let's share equally. But when the relationship ends, it ends. There's no regard for what you have contributed. You, like as the listener says, I'm taking it as if I was just paying rent.
That is unfortunately, as the listener said there, Clement, a hard lesson learned. It all goes well until it doesn't. And that's where these agreements again come into place, because you're contributing towards expenses, towards a bond, towards car repayments, towards maintenance. When I say maintenance of the property or whatever the case may be. And when it ends, you walk away with nothing. And sometimes these relationships could last 5-10 years, and to walk out from a relationship with nothing after 10 years, it's quite a tough lesson to learn. In cases like that, again, can they approach the court? Yes, they will have to prove that a universal partnership was in place, and then claim for division of assets. But it's so difficult, because the other partner's name would be on the title deed, would be on the mortgage bond, and they would just allege that you contributed, as the listener said, in terms of rent and maintenance, and they have to walk away with nothing to show at the end of the day.
What would you say are some of the biggest mistakes that cohabiting couples make legally now? So when they are trying to follow that legal route?
What they would make legally, firstly, as I would say, is not discussing the difficult questions beforehand, and then just assuming everything's going to be fine and go well, and it is your property and I'll contribute as rent, and as that listener said. Secondly, and a lesson learned also by relationships or people in relationships, not updating your will and looking at that on a regular basis as and when your circumstances change. Because you might not have an updated will, as in the Magwenya case, and pass away, and then all of a sudden a partner might have a claim against your estate where you would have wanted your estate to go to your children, and then people claiming against your estate, which leaves less assets and leaves less money in the estate. And again, having the discussion, Clement, going to court, we are lawyers, and we get our fees from that. But unfortunately, it is an expensive exercise, a stressful exercise, and sometimes leads to the total opposite effect of what you might want. You're out of pocket and with zero assets, and just learning a tough lesson. So discuss the difficult ones. The courts should be the last option to resolve it, because stress and time and money at the end of the day becomes super expensive.
Hi Clement, thank you for this interesting topic. I bought a house which is on my name, and then I stayed with the father of my kids for I think 9 years, and then we decided to buy a new property. And then after the things went south, he moved out. I was left with 2 properties. I tried to pay for both of them, but I couldn't. And I had to call the bank, seek for advice, and then I had to sell the property. What I will say is, if you are cohabiting, just make sure that you've got a contract in place. And there's you agree to the terms and conditions. That's all that I could say.
Yeah. And then there's a quick question here as well, call from...
On that, quickly, Clement, just also, when you buy a property, you and the partner, you entering that mortgage bond agreement jointly and severally, and your poor listener, I think, had learned that lesson, that if the other partner walks away, you are still severally on your own liable for the debts of that bond. The other partner walks away, not scot-free, but some partners unfortunately just don't care about their credit history. And in this case, your listener obviously had to go sell the property for a shortfall, which leads to other consequences. Acknowledgement of debt with the bank, might having to sell, in her case, was probably the second property to make up for the losses she made on the other property that she had. So be careful when you buy. When you buy together, but you are jointly, the both of you, and severally also individually liable for that full bond amount.
Okay, just a quick one. I've got 10 seconds left. I'm married, Clement. I'm married and separated for a couple of years with my ex-husband. And my question is based on the following. He's in a relationship with someone else and they're cohabiting. And they've got this life partner agreement. And then when he dies, or if he dies, who does the law recognize first?
Well, if he passes away, as I said, in terms of if there's a will, the will will obviously also take precedent over anything else, what was said and what was agreed and whatever. The will must be properly attested and witnessed by that person making the will. And secondly, again, if they pass away, then they pass, and there's no will, Clement, they will pass away according to the Interstate Succession Act. Then we'll have to go look at surviving spouse, those agreements are in place, the number of children that are there, adopted children. It becomes very complex when there's no will in place, but then the Interstate Succession Act will kick in, which leads to a host of complexities in terms of who inherits what in terms of that deceased estate.
Got it. Cole van Defender, thank you. This has been so insightful. He's an attorney and director at VDM Incorporated Attorneys. It's 11:31. Bali, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Joburg Water says it is still working to find long-term solutions to issues affecting residents. Managing Director Nchabeni Mugwebo has admitted that the current system is unable to cope with rising water demand. Mugwebo is part of a Joburg delegation which has been briefing the media this morning following a protest by frustrated residents. Acting National Head of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, Thuso Gifelagai, is outlining some of the challenges faced when investigating police. Gifelagai is testifying before the Malanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria. He started his testimony this morning by detailing their role as the police watchdog, highlighting shortfalls in resources and manpower. And the National Joint Operational and Intelligence Structure is confident its security measures will ensure a safe State of the Nation address in Cape Town. As officials make their way to Cape Town for Sona 2026, Nat Joints has deployed various safety and security units in the city's CBD ahead of tomorrow's event. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling in Erasmus Kloof, the city of Tshwane, we've got an accident reported on the N1 South that happened right after Rigel Avenue. Delays coming out of Linwood Road. Please be on the lookout there. While travelling in Amalgam, we've got heavy traffic volumes on Main Reef Road as well as Crownwood Road and even Albertina Sisulu Road. And if you are travelling on the N12 East, do expect delays towards the Reading interchange. And if you know exactly what's happening there, do send us a report on X at EWN Traffic. And then if you're heading towards Germiston, do expect delays on the N3 South coming out of the Gilulis interchange. And that's your last traffic update from me. More Ramila, stay tuned for more.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
7:02.
25 before 12. Time for the Sharing Space. So what we do on the Sharing Space, this is an opportunity for you to send us your stories. Maybe there's something you want to share with us in confidence. You can be anonymous. Something maybe that happened with your partner, your friend, your bestie, your parents, or maybe at work with your colleagues and you want to share it with us. Very easy. Just send me an email on cm@702.co.za. I always have people DMing me on Twitter and Instagram saying, we want to share something on the Sharing Space. How do we do it? send an email, cm@702.co.za. So today we've got a story that was sent to us via email. I am going to read it, and then if the listener is asking for advice, please be kind enough to advise them. Or if you have dealt with something similar, I'd like to know how you've navigated these dynamics. So here we go. Greetings, Clement and the listeners. I hope this email finds you well. My ex-husband and I finalized our divorce 3 years ago, and we have been co-parenting our 2 children, a boy and a girl, since then. The boy is 15 and the girl is 12. We were married for 15 years as he was my high school sweetheart. In January, I found out from his sister that my ex-husband got married in December, late December. She even sent me the pictures as proof. It wasn't a big wedding, but everyone who matters to him was there. Unfortunately, our kids were not invited. This has angered me a lot because our children will have to interact with the new wife and treat her like their other mother, yet they were not even invited to the wedding. When I confronted my ex-husband, he said he felt they were too young to understand what was happening. This makes no sense to me because our children are intelligent and they understand our divorce just fine. I told the children what happened, and they also said it was strange because they had spent the whole week with their father before the wedding and he never told them about it. They also don't know much about the lady and have only met her about 3 times. This is a cause for concern for me, and I'm thinking of asking my ex-husband to set a formal meeting so me and the kids can properly meet his new wife, and then we can get a better understanding of who she is. How would your listeners approach this? I would like some advice, please. Anonymous. Okay, Anonymous, thank you for sharing that with us. What's your advice for Anonymous? I don't think a child that is 15 and a child that is 12 are too young to understand that their father is in love with somebody else and he's going to marry that next person. I think this is quite weird for this man to spend the whole week with the kids. I mean, if the kids were younger than 6, sure, probably I would get that. But even there, I'm stretching it a bit. 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, you're not going to tell them that you're getting married to the same woman you have introduced the kids to? Because Anonymous says the kids have met this new woman they met her about 3 times or so. So why can't you just say as a dad, if they can understand that daddy is no longer with mommy and daddy is now in a relationship with someone else, why can't they understand that dad is actually getting married to that new person? So I think you should call a meeting. I think it's strange, but I don't know if I agree with the fact that the meeting must be with the ex-wife and the new wife and the kids. I mean, I think the kids are old enough. The father, if you trust the father, he can have a meeting with his new wife and the kids. Now, when they're bringing you into the picture, that's going to make it a little bit tricky, I think. But hey, I don't know. How would you deal with something like this? Any advice for Anonymous? And have you dealt with something similar where you are divorced with your ex-spouse and they decide to get married again, but they don't invite your kids that you guys have to their wedding with their new partner? 011-883-0702. Give us a call. Share your advice as well on the WhatsApp line on 072-7021-702. What should Anonymous do? And is she right for being offended and feeling weird about what her ex-husband has done?
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
Jolene Wasserman, to what extent do body corporates have to be subject to the Constitution?
In our Bill of Rights, you have a right to practice your cultural and religious beliefs. Can you slaughter in a body corporate?
I don't know. Can you?
Absolutely, because where do we get that from? The Bill of Rights. So we can practice our religious and cultural beliefs. You are even allowed to slaughter on the 20th floor of your apartment in the block.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
When tax issues get complex, you need more than general advice. You need specialist insight. AJM turns intricate tax challenges into clear strategic solutions. From disputes and litigation to long-term planning, our expertise protects what matters to you and your business. With teams in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Namibia, we deliver the rigorous analysis high-stakes decisions demand. AJM. Complex tax matters simply resolved.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. It will leave you feeling overwhelmed. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim to make those important calls. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Sharing Space
On the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
19 minutes before 12 o'clock. Right, let's hear from you. You've heard Anonymous' story. What's yours? What's your advice? Tembile, you calling from Centurion. Good morning.
Morning, Clement. How are you?
I'm not winner.
Fantastic, man. Look, when I got married again for the second time, I involved my son.
Mm-hmm.
He was about, I think, 13 or 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Very much involved. I mean, I showed him when I was buying the ring. Because he was, he was there. He was involved. And I think the guy made a mistake. He should have involved his kids.
So your kid was not confused or anything, because his argument is no, they're too young.
The thing is this, because my son knew my wife, my current wife, before. I mean, we've been together, we're dating for 2 years or so.
Yeah.
So he used to come to the house. He was not staying with me. We'll do alternate weekends. So he'd come and stay. I mean, he knew we went on holiday before that. I mean, he knew it very well. But I think this meeting, the ex-wife does not need to be in that.
Yes.
I think she's taking this thing too much to herself. Maybe, I don't know, I might be wrong. She's angry about the whole situation. But no, on the kid side, I agree. He should have done better. He should have involved the kids. It's not too late. He can fix it, but he can fix it alone, not with the ex-wife.
I agree with you, Tembile. I think it's going to cause a drama if you're bringing in, the ex-wife now, Anonymous, who wrote to us, says, I need to meet my ex-husband with this new woman and the kids so we can figure out, who is this new woman. I think let your husband deal with it. And maybe the reason she wants to be part of that meeting is because she doesn't trust the husband to handle it well, because the husband has already failed to handle the issue of when he got married. Justice, you are in Tembisa. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I truly believe that for security reasons, that's why the first wife she's interested in getting involved now, because the husband himself failed to handle the situation in a correct manner. So that I think. I believe the first one, she's very much for that, and I believe she'll deal with the situation in a different manner to understand that I might be harsh by approaching this with my husband, but she wants to be there to witness. Can I trust my husband in handling the situation with my children? Because now he has shown a failure as a man to take responsibility for his actions. So. I don't think it's a bad idea for the ex-wife to be part of the discussion. It's just to make sure that the husband do the right thing for the sake of the children.
Yeah. Justice in Tembisa, thank you for your call. Bruno, you are in Johannesburg. Good morning.
Hi, Clement. How are you?
Shop. How are you?
Thanks. I'm okay. Thanks for taking my call. So I've got a similar situation, but mine. What happened? I got separated with my partner for 12 years. So we've got a a 10-year-old child and then a 5-year-old child. So we got separated, and then I met this new person, and then we decided to get married. I informed my partner to say that, hey, man, I'm getting married in December. Can you please allow me to take the kids to Mozambique? Because I was getting married in Mozambique. She was like, okay, it's fine, no problem. And then somewhere on the 20th of December, she ran away with the last born child.
What do you mean? What do you mean ran away?
She ran away because I couldn't find. I tried to go to the family. I couldn't find this child.
What?
You know, and then yes, it's a true. I mean, it's a true story. This thing happened somewhere in December. I got married in 27 December.
Yeah.
So I managed to take the older child to Mozambique.
Yeah.
So he's the one that went there to witness the wedding of his father. You know.
How did she explain it later on when she resurfaced?
She did not explain anything. So what happened on the 14th? I took the older son to the school because they're attending the same school. I took the older son to the school, and then that's where I met her. And then I was like, man, what? I mean, what are you doing? You know, because these kids, they were supposed to attend my wedding. You know, and then she was like, I mean, she said a lot of things. There was no proper explanation as to why that happened.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. Bruno, thank you for calling in, for sharing your story. Nyasha, you're in Senton. Hi.
Hi, Clement.
Sure.
My experience is the complete opposite of the person who sent in that message. So I got remarried after about 4 or 5 years of divorce, and my 3 children were aged between 20 and 25, 2 girls and 1 boy. So I got remarried, and I had a white wedding. And my kids were getting along with my new husband. We agreed they would be the bridesmaids as well, and they were excited. And then they got a message from their father that they will not attend my wedding.
Hi, Bo.
And because my kids were old enough to make their own decisions, they were in their 20s, the girls decided they are coming. So they came to the church wedding, did all they needed to do, but they couldn't come to the reception because now they were, they were scared.
Oh no!
So they couldn't come to the reception. My son could not even come to the church wedding or the reception.
Nyasha.
Because culturally, you can't go against your father's word. You are a man. You carry the clan's name forward. It's so sad.
Oh
but
man, that's sad.
Happen.
Oh yeah, that's so petty. Nyasha, thank you so much for the call. That is wild, isn't it?
Hi, good day, my brother. How are you? Sorry, my question is, before I get straight to the point, I feel like I could do the same thing that has done by that guy. My question is, the kids, what will be the kids doing there on a wedding day? Celebrating? That's my first question. I think the kids will just accept what they see and then appreciate the love they get from the father. Because otherwise, on a wedding, you invite people who will be celebrating with you, gonna witness that, you're taking a wife. But otherwise, I don't see it necessary to invite your kids. They will just see what's happening and then they got nothing to do with the new wife. Let them focus on the mother and father.
No,
that's it. They don't have to get that much confused. I think that guy, hey, ke sebata seo o save bana ba gagwe ke ema le yena tanki
no ways. So okay, so what happens when dad unomsebenzi endlini, the kids can't come because there's a new wife? What happens if the father wants to go on holiday with the kids and his new wife? The last time on the sharing space, we got an email from someone who said their partner this man took his ex-partner or ex-wife on holiday with the kids because apparently the kids are too young to travel to Zanzibar and they needed the mother to be there. But the mother is an ex and the current partner was not even invited on holiday, which I thought was a wild thing to hear. But in this case, what if he wants to travel with the kids and wants to bring in their wife? They don't know this woman. I'm not sure I agree with that. Matt, you're in Pretoria. Hi. Hey, Matt.
Hi. Yes.
Oh, please, just switch off the radio, my brother. I'll come back to you afterwards. Donald, you are in Soweto. What are your thoughts?
Hey, good man.
Hey, Tada.
Yeah, who are you?
Hey, who are you?
Yeah, I was in the same boat. I got married in December 2024. I have a son. My son is from Zimbabwe. A while back, I dated a Zimbabwean woman. We had a child. She had to move back to Gweru, and then I was getting married. Now, first forward, I was getting married in 2024. When I was getting married, my wife told me, I don't want you to involve this child in our wedding.
How old was the child?
The child was 13 by then.
Yeah.
She's turning 15 this year. Yes. And then, Ralauli, we are told, this is what you need to do, this is what you don't need to do. And I've got 2 daughters now with the current woman. And I chose my son. My son was invited. My son was there. My son saw me be marrying the other woman. I sat down with my son and I explained to Nana, this is how life is now. And then this is the woman you're going to live with. Now, the punishment that I received for choosing my child was that I cannot live with my child now. I live with my 2 daughters and my current wife.
So the child is still back in Zim?
No, the child is in South Africa.
Okay.
Yes, the child is in South Africa and living with my mother.
Ah.
Yes, and when I say, hey, but I want all my eggs in one basket. Can we do this? I am told, no, I'm not ready to be. I'm too young to be a stepmother. But she knew all along. I've got a son. I partly don't blame the brother for not inviting the child, because we are married with stipulations inside the house.
Sure.
We live with people. We live with people that tell us white is black, and we end up coming home believing that white is black. So this is very difficult.
Sure,
this is very difficult. Yes, for the mother to say now she wants a meeting.
Yeah, but Donald, tell me, man, like, did you guys not discuss this before you got married with your wife? Or hey, now I've got this kid, and was she okay with it?
Yes, she was okay with it. You know what she did? Clever as she is, she phoned my mother the very same week that my child was coming from Zimbabwe and coming here. She phoned my mother, and they had an agreement. They had an agreement with my mother that, no, don't worry, plus I don't have anyone that I'm staying with, so I'll stay with him. So now, remember, Kurtman, I did not raise this child. I long for that relationship. You know, my friends have sons, and they take their sons, and they, I would look at the relationship that other fathers have with their sons. I don't have that with my son.
Sure, Donald, thanks for calling, man. I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds like quite a complex situation. I hope you're gonna be fine. I hope your wife can come around, because your son hasn't done anything wrong and deserves to be. You guys can have a wonderful blended family. Hey, Matt, you are in Pretoria. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Shop, how's it?
I'm good. I wanted to comment because I think I'm having almost a similar situation as the other gentleman. I'm getting married in the next 2 months.
Congratulations.
And thanks. But now the kids are with my ex-wife. And I think I want to say that we should let the kids stay if where possible. I've got 2 boys, just under 13, both of them. And it's tricky if you don't have a willing mother from their side. So according to me, if we can let the kids stay there, you can explain to them when you have chance. But if their mother is not willing for you to have them, I think we must just let them be. So I'm not sure the situation with the lady, the story that you were reading. I'm not sure what's the situation, but I think it's somehow selfish. Also, I wanted to just add and say, me bringing the kids over, it becomes tricky because someone said to me,
when the kids come over to you, they bring the pain and the hurt of their mother. So even if they are coming to my wedding, they still carry the hurt and the pain of their mother, because their mother has still not moved on, has still not healed. So ke bona ka reng ke bothatanyana. Selfish. I feel like it's selfish. It's me wanting them at my wedding, not necessarily not sure whether they want to be there.
But then talk to the kids, Matt. You know, you say, especially if a kid is 15 and 13, I'm sure you say, listen, daddy's getting... 15. Oh, they're both under?
Under 15. I've spoken to them. They sound excited about coming.
Then let them come. Because I do think that the kids must be involved in the chat, especially if they're old enough, you know, to understand what's happening, you know. Like, who knows? Maybe, and if they feel uncomfortable, they can say, Ish, Dad, we really feel uncomfortable about it. And you must also be understanding to hear them. Hopefully, they're also not being influenced by their mother or their father in whatever case. Matt, thanks for calling, man, and all the best with your wedding that's coming up in a few months.
Good morning, Clement. Nice show as always. I think there's a reason why they didn't invite the kids, although it is not right at all. It is very strange for the father to do that. But I think the new wife did not want drama at her wedding day, number one. The fact that the ex-wife wants to have a meeting with the father and the new wife and the kids tells you a lot of things about that kind of a person is she. If there's a meeting that's going to take place, it must be the father, the new wife, and the kids. Maybe the father must just apologize to the kids and explain. Otherwise, the ex-wife, there's nothing to explain to you. Thanks, Anonymous.
The Checkers Extravaganza is now on. Save extra on new deals every week. Like the new 2-ply toilet rolls 9 per pack for $59.99. Be Well blended canola and extra virgin olive oil 1 litre for $69.99. And Flora 40% light 50% regular or gold fat spread 500 grams. Any 3 for R100. Valid until 15 February 2026. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Year in, year out, we're fixing tires faster than a Formula One pit crew. My team is on top of things like tire whisperers. If an unforeseen accident were to happen in my workshop, at least I've got My Way business insurance to keep the wheels turning.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
Calling on the president to intervene in the matter and to help bring them home. Obviously, we have relations with Russia, country to country, but BRICS was also mentioned. The people who actually arranged for your relative and the others to go across to Russia, what answers are they giving you? Are they engaging with you or have they disappeared?
They disappeared.
They can't be reached, they can't be contacted.
Yeah. Some other members of the family tried to reach others, but all was in vain.
Tulani Mahlangu.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Coming up
on the Midday Report.
How you doing, Mandy?
I'm great, thank you.
Because you're great, because you've just watched something
you're
great.
You're not going to understand this,
Yeah.
but I think I've just witnessed the best T20 cricket match I've ever seen.
What happened?
And the Proteas won. I'll explain.
Was there
the
a
whole
wicket?
thing.
That's all I know.
There were lots of wickets. There were lots of sixes. There were 2 super overs.
Okay.
And we won on the last ball.
Okay, super
against
overs.
Afghanistan. It's a big deal, Clement.
Okay.
Big deal. What happened?
All right, I'll learn cricket one day. What's coming up?
So the big focus, of course, is water. The DA has announced that it's taking Joburg to court over the water crisis. The mayor had a briefing today saying that Joburg is not facing a day zero scenario. Residents have been protesting today as well. We've got an update on Parliament's preparedness for the State of the Nation address, which is tomorrow night. I'll be hosting that with you, Clement Manyathela. Paul O'Sullivan back in the hot seat at the ad hoc committee, and then I'll tell the whole story of the T20.
Yeah. Wickets and what? Sixes.
Lots of sixes.
Sixes. Okay, that's what's coming up on the Midday Report with Mandy Weena. Remember, tomorrow we're going to be live, this show, 9 to 12 from Parliament. And then Mandy and I are going to do a special broadcast here on 702 from 6 p.m. And then after the President's State of the Nation address tomorrow night, we're also going to do another special show afterwards to get you some reaction. So make sure you tune into that. Thanks for listening to the Wednesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. Back tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon. I'm Bali Dlamini. Johannesburg Water says it's still working to find long-term solutions to issues affecting its residents. Managing Director Nchabeni Mugwebo has admitted that the current system is unable